Good afternoon, everybody. We have a long session ahead of us, so we're going to start on time. And welcome everybody to meeting number 8 of the Industry, Science and Technology Committee. First off, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. Today we have several witnesses to welcome to our committee, along with a number of people in our gallery, all the way, you guys in the back, and Canadians watching from home and on their TV sets, live to you. I would like to welcome the Honourable Bardesh Chagger, the Minister for Small Business and Tourism, the Honourable Kirsty Duncan, the Minister of Science, and the Honourable Navdeep Bains, the Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development. Along with the ministers, we have several senior public servants officials from each department. I'd like to welcome you all for appearing before the INDU committee today. I'd also like to thank everybody working behind the scenes as well that has helped get all 3 ministers here today. The mandate of our committee is vast and covers all 3 of your portfolios, and we're thrilled that logistically worked out so that we could meet all at the same time. In fact, 3 ministers for 3 hours might be a committee record. As a committee, we understand that a question may not just pertain to one ministry, so please feel free to ask any of the ministers questions, or the ministers can have other ministers answer those questions too if it crosses over. We have a lot to accomplish today. There will be a lot of great discussion and perhaps some tough questions asked today, but I expect that we can do so respectfully. Everyone is eager to learn what each of our ministers' goals and priorities are with the mandate, and that has been given to them by the Prime Minister. I know that we're all eager to ask a lot of questions, so I will keep this brief, and I will explain how we're going to do this. We're going to start off with the ministers. Each minister will have their 10 minutes. At the end of all 3 ministers, we will begin our line of questioning, and we'll go from there. Go ahead. Who will go first?
I'll start if that's okay with the Chair.
Thank you, Minister Bains.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I really am pleased to be here in front of such esteemed colleagues and committee members. And I truly do appreciate the opportunity to speak about my mandate letter, as you mentioned, of course, Budget 2016 and the main estimates. I'd like to take this opportunity to also acknowledge my colleagues who are here with me this afternoon, Minister Chagger, responsible for small business and tourism, and Minister Duncan, who's responsible for science, and of course, my Deputy Minister, John Nubley, and my Associate Deputy Minister, Kelly Gillis. Monsieur le Président, je suis ici aujourd'hui.
Mr. Chair, I am here today as Canada's first Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development. As you know, this is a department that over the years has had different names, most recently Industry Canada. The new name underscores that innovation and scientific discovery are key drivers of economic growth across Canada.
It's a recognition that the global economy is changing, and changing fast. The speed and scope is absolutely phenomenal. Thankfully, Minister Duncan is helping shoulder a great deal of responsibility for making sure science has a strong place in the business of government. And Minister Chagger is working to stimulate economic development for small businesses across the economy, and particularly to the tourism sector, where there's tremendous growth opportunities that we're seeing. And of course, all of us do this with a keen eye on encouraging innovation across the economy, Mr. Chair. Depuis ma nomination en novembre, j'ai eu l'occasion de travailler.
Since being appointed in November, I've had the opportunity to engage my colleagues as we tackle our mandate and work to deliver on our priorities. For the first time in Canadian history, our mandate letters were made public, Mr. Chair. Our government is about openness and transparency, about performance and results. We are focused on outcomes.
In my mandate letter, including my announcement on the first official day, and I must confess, Chair, this was a point of pride. The first official government announcement was to reinstate the mandatory long-form census, coupled with ongoing work to update legislation governing Statistics Canada, where we're reinforcing the institution's independence. Mr. Chair, I must say I've been quite impressed with the breadth and talent within the portfolio, including our department, the regional development agencies, and regional offices. And as Minister, I've had the opportunity to travel the country and visit our public service. And I want to take this opportunity to thank them for their hard work and how much we value their input. When the Prime Minister decided to bring together all of the regional development agencies under one portfolio, it made a lot of sense to me. I strongly believe that effective collaboration is one of the best ways to drive innovation. And I happily accepted the responsibility of representing our RDAs at the Cabinet table. Every year, they invest close to $1 billion in communities across the country, helping to develop and diversify our economy. So, as you know, this is a new portfolio with a new name, and we're building on a solid foundation. And it's clear to me that Canada is well positioned for success. We have world-leading research institutions, we have the most creative and innovative entrepreneurs, and we have businesses and incubators and accelerators that transform breakthroughs in the laboratory into products that enhance the lives of millions of Canadians. We make R&D investments for the development of leading-edge technologies, including the most traditional Industry Canada sectors, which continue to make a vital and important contribution to our economy. Sectors like automotive, and I know Brian would be happy to hear that, and I support that, aerospace, and defense. Another important initiative we are supporting is the promotion of a stronger engagement in the digital economy, including by continuing to expand and improve broadband internet access across the country, and by providing computers for schools and non-for-profit organizations to better teach digital literacy. And we understand the importance of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM. And as a father of 2 young girls, I must say we must encourage more participation of young women when it comes to STEM. Making investments, and this is very key in Budget 2016, notre gouvernement est orienté vers l'avenir.
Ours is a forward-looking government, and we know there is far more to do. As the Minister of Finance made clear on March 22nd in our first budget, we are taking a positive and optimistic approach to our future. That is why, in my first months on the job, I reached out to hundreds of CEOs from both small and large companies and in a variety of sectors. Fundamentally, they are looking for government to invest in people, in infrastructure, and in innovation. The response I received from them was very positive.
Canada as a centre of global innovation that is renowned for its science, technology, creativity, entrepreneurial citizens, and globally competitive companies. It's really all part of our department's mandate, and I want to emphasize the word "our" because this truly is a team effort, and is strongly reflected in the budget. And the title of the budget, Mr. Chair, as you know, 2016 is Growing the Middle Class. And it is a clear recognition that for Canada to succeed, our middle class needs to succeed, and that we as a government can do and must do more. Not for those people simply in the middle class, but those that want to join the middle class as well. And for our part, we're defining a bold new plan to help achieve that goal, our innovation agenda. Through this plan, we will redefine how we support innovation and growth in the economy, and this will be undertaken in collaboration and coordination with the private sector, the provinces, territories, and municipalities, as well as university, colleges, and the non-for-profit sector, civil society. It truly will be a holistic approach. And I think the most important for today's discussion is that we're looking forward to working with these members of this committee, which have a long history, a tradition of providing intelligent and insightful analysis on some of the most pressing issues that face our economy. And I note with great interest, Mr. Chair, that the committee will soon undertake, as you mentioned earlier today with me, a study of Canada's evolving manufacturing sector. As one of the largest investors in R&D annually in Canada, this is a sector that understands the importance of innovation and technology for its continued success into the future. And what's more, manufacturing today is not what it was 30 years ago. New entrepreneurs, new approaches, new markets, in other words, innovation have reshaped the sector, and I look forward to seeing your results from your work. Beyond the manufacturing sector, Mr. Chair, I'd like to take some time to talk about how the government is taking action through the budget to help realize this vision of Canada as an innovation nation. For example, we are providing a $2 billion commitment to enhance and modernize research and commercialization facilities on Canadian campuses. And Minister Duncan can also tell you that we are providing the highest amount of new annual funding for discovery research in more than a decade through an additional $95 million per year to the granting councils. This recognizes the fundamental role of investigator-led discovery research in an innovative society. And what's more, to promote clean technology and climate change adaptation, we're providing over $1 billion to encourage investments in clean tech in the forestry, fishing, mining, energy, and agriculture sectors. Clean technology is key to sustainable economic growth and will play a critical role in Canada's transformation into a low-carbon, globally competitive economy. By supporting clean tech, we're seeking to reduce the environmental impacts of energy production in a way that will create jobs and leave future generations of Canadians with a sustainable and prosperous future. And to bring new forms of these technologies to market faster, we're investing $50 million to support an organization new to ISED, the ISED portfolio, and that's Sustainable Development Technology Canada in its new SD Tech Fund. Specifically, the money will go towards developing and demonstrating new technologies that address climate change, air quality, clean water, and clean soil. We will also deliver on the government's priority of increasing high-speed broadband coverage by investing $500 million for a new program to extend and enhance broadband service in rural and remote regions across this diverse and broad country. And of course, finally, in this budget, we have a mandate, or we made a down payment on one of the signature elements of our innovation agenda, supporting firms with an ambition to grow beyond our borders, ensuring they have the resources and support they need to reach their potential. Specifically, we will invest $800 million to support innovation networks and clusters, and we will boost this highly successful Industrial Research Assistance Program, known as IRAP, by $50 million. And this was really well received by small businesses. Nous avons un ambitieux objectif.
I hope it is clear that our ambitious goal is to enable innovation in all ways possible. This budget is right for its time. A time to be building our economy, to be investing in our future. We believe a long-term approach to the economy will improve productivity and competitiveness across our economy.
The kind of sustainable and inclusive growth we need in order to thrive in the global economy. That is why you see it at the core of our mandate and at the heart of everything we're doing across this portfolio. Ours is an ambitious set of goals, but I have every confidence in the capacity, ability, and talent of Canadians to work together to achieve them. Again, Mr. Chair, thank you very much. I'd like to thank the committee members for your time, and I'd like to thank my honourable colleagues, Minister Duncan and Chagger, who will now say a few words, and I'd be happy to answer any questions following their remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Baines. And we will move to Minister Duncan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'd like to thank the committee for having us. It's an honor and privilege to be appearing today. And like my colleague, Minister Baines, I'm really looking forward to working with you all. And before I start, I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues, Minister Baines, Minister Chagger, and John Nubley and Kelly Gillis, with whom we have the privilege of working. Merci. Je suis heureuse de prendre la parole.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today on the occasion of the tabling of the main estimates.
I am part of a government and part of a team within Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada that believes in science. And we know that science and empirical evidence must inform government decision-making. It is not common for a team to open its playbook to the public, Mr. Chair. But that is just what we did in sharing our mandate letters. We want to change the tone of how we communicate and interact with Canadians by being more open and transparent. Of course, there is no better example of openness than our immediate action to allow federal researchers and scientists to discuss their work. As Minister Baines said, our first announcement was to reinstate the long-form census. The next announcement was to allow our federal scientists to speak freely. Mais il y a tellement plus à notre engagement envers la science.
But there is so much more to our commitment to science. Just take, for example, Budget 2016.
$2 billion to improve our research and innovation infrastructure at colleges, universities, and polytechnics. And there's an additional $95 million per year to the granting councils to support discovery research. And I'm proud to say that's the highest amount of new annual funding for this purpose in over a decade. And to ensure that federal support for research, including through the granting councils, is strategic and effective, Budget 2016 announces that I will undertake a comprehensive review of all elements of federal support for fundamental science over the coming year. The review will ensure the full spectrum of research, from basic to applied, is balanced and is fully supported. Our goal is to ensure investments in science are strategic, effective, meet the needs of Canada, and meet the needs of our research community. We will also be establishing a new Chief Science Officer position. This position will be key to ensure communicated. This is a top priority of mine. I have conducted significant consultations within the research community, sought views from all members of Parliament, and examined best practices. I will be providing advice to the Prime Minister and hope to be launching a search for the Chief Science Officer within the next few months. Mr. Chair, as per Budget 2016, I will also work with Minister Baines to establish 2 new Canada Excellence Research Chairs in clean and sustainable technologies, and to ensure youth pursue careers in STEM and science, technology, engineering, and math. The budget commits $73 million to help employers create more co-op placements for students in these important areas. You will also see us focusing on encouraging the participation of underrepresented populations, including women and Indigenous peoples. In Budget 2016, we also committed to supporting Canadian leadership in genomics by investing $237 million for genomics research and applications through Genome Canada. From space and brain science to clean technology, stem cell and climate change research, and so much more, we are delivering on our mandate and supporting a real innovation culture in this country. Monsieur le Président, le Premier ministre a pris...
Mr. Chair, the Prime Minister made a commitment to Canadians to pursue our policy agenda in a renewed sense of collaboration.
We will work with other members of the Cabinet, with provinces and territories, with foreign governments and international forums, and of course, with Canada's excellent universities, colleges, polytechnics, and non-profit research organizations. Science plays a central role in a thriving clean economy and in providing evidence for sound policy decisions. To be successful in the highly competitive global economy, Canada must continue to attract and develop highly qualified, talented people performing world-leading research and generating new breakthrough ideas. Nous croyons que le budget de 2016
We believe that Budget 2016 represents a great step forward in achieving these goals.
Thank you for having us, and I look forward to your questions. Merci.
Thank you very much. And finally, we will move to Minister Chagger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and members of the committee for inviting me to speak with you today. It is indeed a privilege to be here, and it's great to be here with my colleagues as well at the same table. I just want to take a quick moment to recognize the same people that my colleagues have also recognized, as well as the teams that we come with. Many good work that is done because of all the work that we do and the teams that help us do that work, so I sincerely appreciate all of the efforts. I'm pleased to be part of an ambitious team here today to discuss the government's commitment to innovation, science, and economic development. My goal as our country's first full Minister of Small Business and Tourism is to work with my Cabinet colleagues to foster a climate of success for small businesses and engage directly with our Canadian entrepreneurs and tourism operators. To that end, in the fewer than 6 months since being sworn in, I have already met with close to 250 stakeholders, entrepreneurs, and small business owners. Whether it's one-on-one or a great discussion around a table, their stories are inspiring and help our government deliver on what they need. Je suis fière de me joindre à l'équipe ambitieuse.
I am proud to be a part of the ambitious team that you see before you today to boost the government's commitment towards innovation, science, and economic development. My goal, as the first full Minister of Small Business and Tourism, is to work with my Cabinet colleagues to foster a climate of success for small businesses across this country and the world.
Budget 2016 sets us on a path to reshape the Canadian economy for the 21st century. This is a budget for the middle class, and that means it is also a budget for small business. If you own a small business, you work for your money, and especially if you are starting out, what money you have often goes right back into your business. Not to mention the time, effort, and personal sacrifices small business owners make trying to grow and expand. When small businesses grow, they hire more people from their communities. 90% of all Canadians working in the private sector are working at a small or medium-sized business. SMEs account for about 40% of the GDP. They are the backbone of our economy. Le budget de 2016 nous oriente dans la bonne direction.
Budget 2016 moves us into the right direction to build the 21st century economy for Canada. This is in favor of and promotes the middle class. And it's also a budget that helps the small businesses. Business owners work hard to earn their money, especially they work hard for the money, and the money they make is often reinvested right back into their businesses. Not to mention the time, effort, and personal sacrifices small business owners make trying to grow and expand. When small businesses grow, they hire more people from their communities. 90% of all Canadians employed in the private sector work in small or medium-sized businesses. SMEs account for about 40% of GDP. They are the backbone of our economy.
And that's what our economy needs. We are boosting funding to the Industrial Research Assistance Program, which helps SMEs access technical advice and research and development project financing. And as my colleague said, it has been very well received. The budget also proposes to help business accelerators and incubators develop much-needed research into performance. Information that is not only crucial in helping these institutions benchmark their success and drive improvement, it also helps companies to choose their best options for support. And it assists governments at all levels in increasing their effectiveness of public investments. With research, knowledge, and innovation, SMEs are well equipped for the next crucial steps in growing their businesses, exporting to global markets, a task our government is committed to making easier by working closely with our international partners to open new markets, and with the tools such as Can Export, which we launched earlier this year, a program that helps small businesses research global markets and find buyers for their products and services. In line with the Innovation Agenda's goal, Budget 2016 proposes a new initiative to help high-impact firms scale up and further their global competitiveness. With entrepreneurs and small businesses at the center of this approach, firms will be able to access coordinated services tailored to their needs at each of the crucial steps of research, development, production, and expansion. Les PME qui misent sur la recherche, le savoir et l'innovation seront mieux équipées.
Small businesses that are based on research are well equipped for the next crucial step in growing their business and exporting to global markets. Our government is committed to making this task easier by working closely with our international partners to open new markets and by providing tools such as Can Export, which we launched earlier this year. This program helps small businesses research global markets and find buyers for their products and services.
Mr. Chair, the second but no less important part of my title is tourism. The tourism industry is an important economic driver for Canada. It is a $90 billion industry sector. Last year was an outstanding year for Canada's tourism sector. In 2015, overnight arrivals to Canada grew by 7.5% to 17.8 million compared to that same period in 2014. If we consider that all international tourist arrivals globally grew by 4.4% in 2015, Canada is outpacing global growth. This is a tremendous accomplishment. Canada needs to build on this momentum over the next year as we move towards our country's 150th birthday celebrations in 2017. This is an opportunity to showcase what Canada has to offer so tourists don't just visit, they keep coming back. It is an opportunity our government is seizing. L'an dernier a été remarquable pour le secteur canadien du tourisme.
Last year was an outstanding year for Canada's tourism industry. In 2015, overnight arrivals to Canada reached 17.8 million. That's a 7.5% increase compared to 2014. If we consider that international tourist arrivals globally grew by 4.4% in 2015, Canada is outpacing global growth. This is a tremendous accomplishment. Canada needs to build on this momentum over the next year as we move towards our country's 150th birthday celebrations in 2017. This is a wonderful opportunity to showcase what Canada has to offer so tourists don't just visit, they keep coming back. This is an opportunity our government is seizing.
In the U.S. It will also carry on its efforts in other international markets, including China, the UK, France, and Germany. What's more, the budget provides $50 million to Destination Canada to bolster marketing initiatives in important international markets around the world. Global travelers want to explore, live a life less ordinary, and leave their cares behind. That's what Canada has to offer, and that's what will keep them coming back long after 2017. Mr. Chair, let me join Minister Baines and Duncan in again thanking the committee for the opportunity. We welcome questions at this time.
Thank you very much for all three ministers. I must apologize. In my haste to get right to the heart of it, I did not introduce our other two guests at the table. We have the Deputy Minister, Mr. Newbley, and the Associate Deputy Minister, Ms. Gillis. My apologies, and we will go straight into question. Mr. Johari, you have 7 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minister Duncan, Minister Baines, Minister Chagger, Deputy Minister and Assistant Deputy Minister. Thank you for making the time today. We are privileged to have you joining the committee and sharing your thoughts with us. I'd like to, at the outset, thank Minister Chagger for making a special visit to my riding of Richmond Hill, where we had that opportunity to be able to showcase some of the capabilities that we have in being able to help with the innovation and with the growth agenda. I also like to invite the other two ministers to join us because we would be able to showcase that we have the building blocks to be able to be an active participant both in the growth, research, development, innovation, and the growth of the economy. I'd like to also thank the Prime Minister for sharing your mandate letter with us. The mandate letter that gave us the vision, gave us the general direction that your ministries will be taking the direction, and also a sense of collaboration among many different departments. On that note, I would like to actually start with Minister Duncan and ask two questions. One is on the sense of the priorities, and I'll touch on that shortly, and the other one talking about one of the things that I understand we share a passion, stem cell research, as well as the collaboration between the ministries. So let's start with the first question. Can you give us, I know you touched on the Office for Chief Science Officer. Can you give us an update aside from that? This is, you're starting to recruit for this position. Can you give us what was the finding from all the consultation that you did? I know you reached out to all the MPs' offices to ask for some feedback. And second question is around, specifically around the stem cell. Can you expand on the scope of stem cell and how you're collaborating with other ministries, specifically Ministry of Health, to be able to promote that across Canada? Thank you.
I'd like to thank my honourable colleague for the question. I'll start by talking about the Chief Science Officer. You're correct. It was part of my mandate letter that I am to create this position. And over the last several months, I have met with hundreds of stakeholders and have been busy traveling the country. We also reached out to chief science advisors and chief science officers in other countries to get ideas of best practices. For example, Australia, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, the US, and Israel. Our officials spoke to officials in other countries, and I spoke minister to minister. We wanted to see what was being done overseas that we might be able to incorporate. We also did a large consultation to stakeholders across the country, to all our major stakeholders, asking what should a chief science officer position look like? What tasks should they undertake? What tasks should be undertaken first? How should they engage with the research community? And I reached out, as you pointed out, to all parliamentarians. And I've been here for 7 years. I've never seen that. We really want to get a broad consultation. I'm pleased to see we have those consultations are now complete, and we're at the analysis stage. And I don't use that term lightly. We are, after all, a Ministry of Science, so we're doing a real analysis. And I hope to be starting a search in the coming months. You've also asked about stem cells. For the committee, stem cells were really Canada's science. The breakthrough discovery occurred here in Canada in the 1960s by Drs. Till and McCullough. And Canada has led in this area. In the 70s, the 80s, they trained people who became international leaders. And in 2001, these researchers came together to create the Stem Cell Network. It's 225 researchers, $80 million. And I'm pleased to say in Budget 2016, there's $12 million for the Stem Cell Network. And I think my colleague, Minister Baines, would probably like to talk a bit about stem cells. But I briefly want to say there's so much promise. Why that stem cell network is so important, because they're now ready to go to clinical trials. And stem cells, which I know for some people are concerning, people need to understand today a skin cell can become a stem cell and possibly treat 75 conditions. That's the promise. And from cancer and heart disease to immune disorders, we do share, you and I, both a strong interest and to deliver, to support that research and hopefully one day deliver on the promise of stem cells.
Do you have time? Okay, so can we go back to the CSO? Based on that study, if one thing stood out that you learned from all these consultations, what would that one thing be?
I'd like to thank you for the question. I was really pleased. We received 74, the results from 74 different groups, which is very big. And as I said, we're at the analysis stage right now. And as a good scientist, I can't preclude those results.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. We are going to move over to Mr. Nuttall. You have 7 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to Mr. Chagger, Mr. Baines, Minister Duncan for coming today and spending the time with us. I know your schedules are incredibly busy, and certainly it is an honor to have you at committee with us. So we certainly do appreciate that. And thank you for the work that you're doing and the dedication to your country, to your government, and to this House. It is very noble, and we certainly do appreciate it. As well to the Deputy Ministers, thank you so much for being with us today. If I could, I would like to ask some questions to Minister Baines. I'm going to read a quick section from your mandate letter, if that's okay with you. As Minister, you'll be held accountable for our commitment to bring a different style of leadership to government. This will include close collaboration with your colleagues, meaningful engagement with opposition members of Parliament, parliamentary committees, and the public service, and it continues on. Minister, in your mind, does close collaboration mean that you would value the input of members of the opposition to help inform your decisions for the best interest of all Canadians?
Thank you very much for the question, and I want to thank you again for your live engagement and question period. I can see you're very actively engaged in that very fine House. And you're absolutely right, this is actually unprecedented and really speaks to the Prime Minister's desire to be open and transparent. We have 3 ministers here before the committee for 3 hours, and that's clearly demonstrate the fact that we're looking forward to the opportunity not only to listen to viewpoints of members of the opposition, but to members of all political parties, to have an opportunity to really get your input and insight. Obviously, input is important, insight is important, but government is about making decisions. And so the goal is for us that we articulated what those decisions were in the budget. We laid out what our priorities were. We determined what that was. So the whole idea is that we value feedback very much, and we look forward to the opportunity to working with all parliamentarians.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. So that answer I would take as yes. And do you value the input of the parliamentary committees?
I'm glad you asked that question because I'm confident that I mentioned that in my opening remarks. I do very much value the input of, again, not only parliamentary committees, but I value very much the input of all key stakeholders. I've had the opportunity to go out there and engage with industry, from small businesses to large businesses across the country in different sectors. I've had the opportunity to even engage civil society because we all want to play an important role in growing a strong and robust economy that creates jobs and helps the middle class. And I've had the opportunity actually to work very closely with my provincial counterparts and municipal counterparts. So it's something that I think is very consistent with the DNA of this government.
Thank you. Then I assume that you would also value the input of this committee in regards to the Bombardier bailout request.
Any kind of feedback, I must confess there have been many articles written. Many people have written to me independently. Many people have pulled me aside in the House to provide me with their input. I must confess I receive a lot of feedback from a lot of people, and I have an open door policy, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Minister, for your responses. It's encouraging to say the least. I have enjoyed both seeing you in the hallways and being able to chat quickly on policy, but also seeing all of the articles written. This committee has, on a number of occasions now, voted against holding any investigation, any report, any helpful opinion to the minister with regards to meeting with Bombardier, meeting with others who could provide assistance. And in that light, and since the minister has said that it is welcome, it is requested, it is accepted, I would like to move the following motion. That the Standing Committee on Industry, Science and Economic Development of the House of Commons invite representatives from Bombardier Inc. to speak with the committee about their current financial status and the request for funding from the Government of Canada at their earliest convenience. And seeing that we have obviously all party support for such a study to take place, I assume that we can move quickly on this, get all party support, and move on.
Sorry, just one second. Mr. Nuttall, are you giving a notice of motion?
Notice is not required, Mr. Chair, as I understand it, because the matter is being discussed currently. The estimates allow for us to essentially ask any question and conduct any business related to the portfolios that are before us.
Okay. Mr. Nuttall, as per the clerk, that is a substantive motion, and therefore notice is required, as per the clerk.
So you can tell him that.
Okay, Mr. Chair, thank you. I will go with your ruling. Consider it notice 3 times. You know, I would also like to go on the record and say that it's another example of this being blocked from a study taking place, and hopefully the minister will encourage his colleagues to conduct the business that the electors, the citizens of Canada have asked us to conduct, and also to ensure that all dollars in a potentially $1.3 billion bailout are allocated effectively. Mr. Baines, if I could continue on a separate line of questioning. On February 1st of this year, you said that you have a plan. On February 3rd, you said you have a plan. On February 18th, 23rd, 25th, all saying we have a plan to grow the economy, some in regards directly to manufacturing, others in regards to economic development as a whole. On the 7th and 8th of March, you also said you had a plan. But in the budget, it says through 2016 and 17, the government will define a bold new plan. So on March 22nd, your budget document basically said your plan is to make a plan. It seems like the plan you were talking about before the budget was a plan to make a plan to make a plan. So if I may, Minister, what is your plan specifically? Not talking points, not answers from the question, House of Commons. What is your actual plan? And please tell me it's more than a plan to make a plan.
Okay.
Sure, Chair.
We're well beyond the time, but I will give you a few seconds if you'd like to direct it correctly.
Just two observations, if I may share. One is with respects to the motion regarding Bombardier. I want to make it very clear the committee is independent and they control their own destinies. So I think it's very important that you guys work amongst yourselves to determine the path forward. I know that the committee is focusing on manufacturing, and that, of course, covers many sectors, and I suspect that'll cover the aerospace sector as well. So I look forward to the opportunity to get feedback on that matter. With respects to the initiatives that we put forward in our budget, we've been very clear that we're making sound investments in different sectors to grow the economy and to focus on manufacturing. One area which we definitely highlighted, Chair, and I'll be very brief because I know we're tight for time, is the automotive sector. We enhanced and we expanded the Automotive Innovation Fund for the next 3 years. This is a $500 million commitment. We've also changed the profile to make sure that the funds are more accessible, to allow for greater investment, which is good for the economy, which is good for job creation. And this was well received by many in the manufacturing sector and, of course, the automotive sector. And this is a clear illustration of us taking action.
Thank you very much. Now we will go to Mr. Massey, and you have 7 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for appearing ministers before committee. It is precedent, and that's good. Industry seems to set those precedents, actually. So I will continue with the automotive. I understand, yes, there has been the continuation of the fund, and the plan has changed a little bit. I guess what my concern is, the fund still is far insufficient compared to other countries, and Canada, including with trade agreements, have gone from number 2 in auto manufacturing in the world to number 10 over successive governments. And so where we're at now is what's really important. So my concern is the lack of competitiveness that we have with our trade agreements related to other countries when you look at what's happening in Mexico and also the southern U.S. But I guess I'll finish with this in terms of, so we don't get into arguments over numbers, because that's not helpful at this moment right now. What we have is what we have. There's a commitment, though, to continue to rehabilitate and get going the Canadian Auto CAPC Partnership Council. And in the elder days, when I had less gray hair, Minister Rock at that time actually included, I guess, not only the CAPC, those that are applying for direct funding, but also the unions, the part suppliers, the innovators, the third-party repair industry, and a series of others. And we created at that time kind of a red light being not good, a caution light being we need to work on those, and a green light being things they're working on. One of them at the time was the caution light for transportation being the Windsor-Detroit bridge that was necessary, which is now being built. So I'll conclude with this to let you answer. Do you have a commitment to reinstate that and provide that, especially given that we have comprehensive funds, not sufficient in my opinion, but might be for others, and but we still have to have discourse and also, I think, a business plan moving forward, as opposed to what we've been doing now is a Hail Mary pass at the last minute to see if we can get something done.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Through you, I just want to take this opportunity to acknowledge, Brian, your advocacy and hard work when it comes to the Windsor region. And I understand very much your concerns around the corridor between Windsor and Detroit. But specifically around CAPC, if I may, I've had an opportunity to meet with members of CAPC. This was during my visit to the Detroit Auto Show, where I met with global executives and OEM heads to speak to them directly about investment opportunities. And I think that's the key part here, is how do we brand Canada? How do we create opportunities? How do we demonstrate that we're serious about investments in the automotive sector? And we are. And I think the point that I made earlier is very relevant, because not only do we extend the Automotive Innovation Fund by an additional 3 years, the profile change sent a clear signal that we were very serious of making sure that we wanted to be part of the production cycles going forward for these OEMs. And not only is it about OEMs, Minister Chagger and I, a few days ago, had the opportunity in Kitchener through the Automotive Supplier Innovation Fund making investments, and there was multiple companies from Windsor that received funding. And again, the idea is to say, look, 5 years from now, where's the industry going to be? And where do we want to be? Because when I went to Detroit, it wasn't necessarily about horsepower. It wasn't necessarily about how big the vehicle was. It was about software, and it was about technology. It was about autonomous vehicle. So there's rapid change taking place in the industry. And we want to make sure that we're at the head of that game. And we want to make sure Canada's positioned as an innovation hub. So we're working very closely with the OEMs to say, look, you know, we're serious about it. Point example is GM. I met with Mary Barra, the chair of GM, and we made it very clear that, you know, this is an area that we have leadership in and we want to make investments in. And so it's very important, because it's not simply about the OEMs, but it's a supplier base. If you look at the footprint in Canada, we have 700 suppliers that feed into the OEMs. And then above and beyond that, we've created this unique partnerships with universities and colleges, 40 of them, that do research directly with the sector. So we really have this comparative and competitive advantage. And it's really focused around innovation. And so this is a priority for us. That's why the Automotive Innovation Fund and the Automotive Supplier Innovation Fund are two really good tools that we're going to utilize. So we're not simply announcing them. We want to make sure that those funds are available for industry.
Okay, and with that, and I appreciate that, and I just hope again that CAPC becomes a working group activist spot that we used to have, and you hope you consider that. But if I can move on to one of the programs, and your co-minister responded to a question I had in the House of Commons related to Auto 21. It's being sunsetted after 15 years, and we had testimony before committee just prior this week about the success of the program. Auto 21 has done everything from improving baby seats to working with the police in Winnipeg to create and lowered by 90% stolen vehicles. It's been it's being sunsetted merely because of the 15-year duration for that research chair position. And I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity to at least review it, because when you look at the facts, there's over $1 billion of value-added work that they've done through patents and other types of works exiting the program. It's been actually the center for many other centers. And then just one fact alone is that it's received around $80 million in funding federally, and it's also had $70 million in investment from the private sector. I don't know of another one-to-one ratio like that. So I'll look forward to any comments, but also too is to see whether there at least be a second glance at that, because an arbitrary date is closing such a good operation.
Again, thank you very much, Brian, for raising that through you, the chair. I think, again, your passion about Windsor and the auto sector clearly is evident, and that's an initiative that we'll definitely take a look at. But if I may also present different opportunities that are available to that region. One is the $2 billion announcement that we made for post-secondary institutions to build that infrastructure and capacity. That's a significant investment. That's $2 billion with the May 9th cutoff that Minister Duncan and I have talked about that was in the budget. That's one area of opportunity. The other is the $800 million investment that we're talking about clusters and innovators. Creating clusters and innovation hubs and focusing on accelerators. And the whole idea with these incubators is to create models where we can bring the research and industry community together. So I think Windsor can play a leadership role in that area, and this is an area we're more than willing to work with you and the institution there. Okay. And of course, the granting councils always exist as well, because we've increased the funding there by $95 million. So what we've done is not only can we examine current program funding, but we provided additional opportunities for that region and for the university to be able to play a more meaningful role in looking at areas where they can really help advance the automotive agenda.
Do I have any more time, Mr. Chair?
Actually, no.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And now we will move to Mr. Bayless. You have 7 minutes.
Thank you. My question will be directed, first question, to Minister Chagger. I'd like to have an idea about how we define small business, number one, and then if you could elaborate on the steps that, particularly this budget specifically, we're taking to help small businesses, and if you could look at areas of innovation and technology. I'd like to have an understanding of how we see the small business, how the government sees small business, and what concrete actions are in the actual budget to help move forward their innovative opportunities.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. Excellent question. So I can start off by saying that small business is implicit throughout the entire budget, and it's a statement that I've made time and time again in the sense that it's important that we recognize middle-class Canadians are small business owners. They are the people who work for them. And the commitments and the investments that we are making within the nation actually all help small businesses. We say that they are the backbone of the economy, and this goes to prove that point. No matter who it is, everyone either knows a small business owner or you know someone that's related to a small business owner, and we all have that in common. When it comes to what defines a small business is defined with under 100 employees, paid employees. Medium size would be the next step up of under 500 paid employees would be a medium-sized business. My mandates clearly states that it's important that we help these small businesses grow through innovation and trade. We need them to be more productive. We need it to be easier for them to grow and to be successful. And I've said on several occasions that the success of small business is the success of the nation, and I wholeheartedly believe that. Within the budget, there are many different places that I can point to. I will start off by, and Minister Baines might choose to step in as well, but the innovation agenda actually will be driving our economy forward. A healthy economy is good for small business, and if I can touch on the middle class tax cut, the middle class tax cut puts more money into the pockets of Canadians. One thing I hear time and time again is that small business owners, they want to sell their products, they want to sell their services. And how do we help make that happen? We help that make happen by allowing consumers to be strengthened. And one way to do that is by allowing them to have more dollars in their pockets. The Canada Child Benefit actually helps those same families that end up buying from local business. I know that anywhere I've had the opportunity to travel across this nation, I try to stay within a small business. I try to shop at a small business because I know that not only helps them and their families, but it helps their community. And then it helps them create jobs within those communities, and that's what will strengthen our nation. If I can continue, the infrastructure investment, the historic infrastructure investment that will not only grow our nation, support small businesses, because it allows us to get to work. When we have, a few weeks ago, I was actually in a riding and I visited a market. And that market, the number one complaint was that their trucks get stuck on the highway. So when it comes to fresh produce, it cannot get to their stores, they can't sell those goods, and therefore they sometimes lose the product or they're not able to provide that service, if I may. The $500 million for broadband in rural and remote areas is a big deal. I do not believe that based on where you live that you should not be able to do business. We need our small and medium-sized businesses to be successful. We need them, all communities, to be able to consider international markets, and that commitment to broadband in rural and remote areas especially will be quite beneficial. The $50 million in the IRAP program, the Industrial Research Assistance Program, has received very good news. It is an additional commitment which allows us to invest into more businesses that need that rate, that need that support. The $4 million for Canadian Technology Accelerators initiatives will actually take us forward and speak to that innovation and the commitment that we're making long term. We are not only trying to grow the economy for today, but we're trying to create those jobs for tomorrow. And that's part of it as well. And the list could go on, and I'm sure you probably have other questions, but if you'd like me to go on, I can go on.
No, that's great. That's a lot there, and I'm very grateful. I will try. Do I have time to squeeze another question here?
You have 2.5 minutes.
So I have a question for Minister Duncan. I know that you've been already quite busy traveling up and down Canada, meeting with a lot of our universities and research centres and all that. I'd like to know, did you see particular areas of opportunities for Canada where we could excel?
I'd like to say to MP Bayless, thank you for the question. I think one of the greatest joys of this job is seeing the tremendous work that's being done in our institutions across the country. I'll highlight a few areas. You know, you've triumphed out at UBC. They've just celebrated their 40th anniversary when I was there. And just to see the international cooperation, every person we met in that lab came from a different area. At Perimeter Institute received $50 million in this budget. It's one of the three most theoretical physics institutes in the world. You know, and we're making major investments in clean tech and sustainable technology. There will be 2 new Canada Excellence Research Chairs, which were announced in Budget 2016 for clean tech and sustainable development. But we have so many areas where our scientists excel. Genomics, there's a $237 million investment in genomics. $32 million to the Canadian Centre for Drug Research and Development, $20 million to Brain Canada, and then $14 million to MyTax. MyTax is important because it's where academia and industry come together, those partnerships which are so important. We need that discovery research, but we have to have that continuum from the fundamental research. It is a continuum, all the way to the commercialization of ideas so we can sell our products, we create jobs. It's not an either or, it's a continuum, and we need those strong links.
And MyTax helps do that?
MyTax is a wonderful program, thank you, and it has 3 programs. There's Accelerate, Elevate, and Global Link, and in Budget 2016, MyTax received $14 million so that we can bring the best and brightest to Canada, but also allow our students to have that international experience.
Thank you very much. We will now move to Ms. Gallant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And my question goes to the Industry Minister. I see that we no longer have a FedNor minister. We don't have separate ministers for the different development agencies. Were there no members of Parliament in your caucus that from Northern Ontario that they felt could best one-on-one deal with the economic development issues in that region?
Thank you very much for that question, and I do appreciate the tone because I understand your concern. Because, you know, one of the things I want to take this opportunity to highlight, and I mentioned in my opening remarks, is this government is doing things differently. And we really believe that we have a unique opportunity to bring all the regional development agencies together to really leverage them in a way that can bring about meaningful change when it comes to economic development. So as I mentioned, all the economic development agencies now have a collective portfolio of $1 billion. And we're focusing on innovation and clean tech and scale up, all key priorities to growing the economy. And the idea is to share best practices, to leverage goodwill, to be able to design programs that also at a national level drive that agenda, but meet the local needs. And I'm very happy to say that when it comes to FedNor and the program that we have there, we've been making meaningful investments in that region when it comes to investments in our Aboriginal people, when it comes to investments in the forestry sector, the mining sector. So these investments are leveraging good return on investment with the private sector, with academia, with local communities. And it's really great to be able to collaborate together and to be able to leverage those government initiatives and government funds to be able to get a good return on investment. And it's creating good jobs. And so far, the response has been very positive. As I said earlier on, I have an open door policy. So it doesn't matter where you live in the country. You can come and speak to me, my team, my colleagues, and my parliamentary secretary does a tremendous job as well to making sure we do a lot of outreach proactively. And we have a tremendous team from Northern Ontario who are punching above their weight, providing good input, good feedback, making key investments for us. And I'm proud to be part of that team. And I must say that economic development now has become more prominent with a portfolio that's better leveraged with innovation and science as well. And I think that sends a clear signal that we have a more coordinated and collaborated approach when it comes to growing the economy and creating jobs.
Well, knowing the players on the ground and the FedNor minister having the sole control over the decisions made in that portfolio had traditionally been the best way to ensure the dollars were spent in the best way possible. Now, there's in the budget they're talking about green infrastructure and social infrastructure. In terms of the FedNor program spending, can you tell me the types of projects that will be allocated or will be funded through that type of infrastructure nomenclature?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because with respects to FedNor and the investments that we're making through infrastructure, there's two different issues. FedNor is a program that was through Industry Canada before and is still part of ISED now. And so we have monies allocated for that really focuses on business development, focuses on investing in companies, investing in the region, and investing in different sectors. With respects, and in the community, of course, as well. With respects to infrastructure, we have a different plan in place, a short-term and a long-term plan. So we have a $120 billion commitment that we made over the next 10 years when it comes to our overall infrastructure envelope. And in the budget, we committed to $11.9 billion. $3.4 billion for public transit, $3.4 billion for green infrastructure, and $5 billion $3.4 billion for social, and $5 billion for green infrastructure. And the criteria is as such, we're willing to partner up to 50%. We're willing to pay our fair share and make sure that we're engaged. But it's a bottom-up approach. We want the local municipalities, the local region to really help develop priorities.
Okay, thank you. Green infrastructure, what exactly is going to go up? The concern I have is that it's going to be more solar panels and wind farms when throughout Ontario, it has been shown that the highest input cost for industry and economic development is the cost of electricity. And every time a wind or solar farm goes up, eventually there's an incremental increase in the cost of electricity to consumers, both employers and residents. So I'm very concerned that this green infrastructure money is going to work backwards and hurt the people in Northern Ontario, just like it's hurting the consumers of electricity across the rest of Ontario.
To the contrary, Chair, I think the investments we're going to make are going to help stimulate growth, create jobs, help us with the low-carbon economy, reduce the price for consumers. And these investments, as I've indicated, are really a reflection of the local needs. So it all depends on what local
Yes or no, are you putting solar and wind in this green infrastructure in Northern Ontario?
Again, it all depends on what the local needs are. I'm not here to, it's not a top-down approach. We're not here to prescribe.
Okay, we're way over time. Thank you very much. We're going to move to Mr. Arsenault. You have 5 minutes. Vous avez 5 minutes.
Merci aux invités.
You have 5 minutes. Thank you. I'd like to thank the witnesses, the ministers, for being here today. I know that your time is precious, and it's an honor for us to benefit from the time that you have granted us. My first question is addressed to Minister Duncan. What do you think the distinction would be in when it comes to innovation between applied research and pure research?
Merci pour cette question.
Thank you for that question.
You've raised a really important question And I want to be very clear to this committee. It is not either or. You need basic and you need applied. You need both. So we start here with fundamental research, and that's to have our new discoveries, whether it's a new battery, whether it's a new BlackBerry, whether it's a new therapy. And then we want to move it through a continuum to the commercialization of that idea and to selling that product and creating jobs. And we have to ensure that those links are very tight all along the way. In Canada, we have suffered through the valley of death. I also want to point out the role that our colleges and our polytechnic institutes can play. So we have discovery research often done at the universities, and at the colleges and polytechnics, the colleges do really important work. They are embedded in their communities. They can often do good social innovation projects, but they can also respond very quickly to industry's needs. So a company, a small or medium-sized business, may come to a college with a problem that college can respond to quickly. And I was out in Winnipeg for the annual meeting, and just hearing the work where our colleges were able to help, whether for the wine industry or to help a small company out in Winnipeg. So thank you for the question. We absolutely need both.
Merci beaucoup. Minister,
Thank you so much.
Institution Strategic Investment Funds, a $2 billion investment in infrastructure on Canadian universities and colleges. Can you discuss why this fund is needed right now?
Merci again. Thank you for your interest and for the interest in our post-secondary institutions. I was delighted to announce that $2 billion, and Mr. Baines and I will be looking at it because it's research and innovation. If we look to some of our institutions, which are now coming up to 50 years old, for example, in the college system, but some of this infrastructure is 25 years of age. We want our students and our researchers to work on cutting-edge technology because that's when they go out into the work, that's what they're going to be using. So it's really important, and I want to make the entire committee aware that the fund is for research and innovation infrastructure, including commercialization spaces. It's for training at the colleges that respond to industry's needs, and it's also for infrastructure that's linked to environmental sustainability. The committee should know if you have an institution in your riding, the due date is May 9th. And it's important because not only is it going to help the institutions, but it's about local economic development across the country and jobs in our communities.
Merci beaucoup. Une minute?
Une minute.
Thank you so much. You still have 1 minute. I don't want to make you answer the same question twice, but I do like to hear about this partnership with colleges and universities and all post-secondary institutions. This is important for the future of our country. The other day we heard that the science office was telling us that we're in the middle of the most rapid industrial revolution that we've ever seen in the history of humanity. So the question is addressed to either you or to Minister Baines. Are there areas in which our post-secondary institutions are falling behind as compared to the rest of the world? I'd like to know what you think of this.
I'd like to thank you for the question. I want to make it clear, during the last decade, we really fell. We fell from 3rd to 8th position in terms of investment in research and development. I want to be clear, we have excellent researchers, but the investment fell from 3rd to 8th for higher education. And when it came to business, the funding of business research and development, it fell from 18th to 26th during the last decade. And really what we heard from the 3 federal granting councils is that they were starved. And that's why that $95 million investment in the granting councils is so significant. It's the largest investment in more than a decade.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We will now move to Mr. Dreeshen, and you have 5 minutes.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all of the ministers and your officials that are here today. I'm going to perhaps take a little bit of a different tact. We also wish to speak about the mains here as well. And after spending 4 years on public accounts, that's something that I do have a certain amount of interest in. Just a couple of the highlights: Canadian Space Agency recognition that there were 16.4% of its voted appropriations that were not spent. This is a normal type of situation that occurs. These are things that do happen. Social Sciences Humanities Research Council, certainly some changes have been made there. Different requests that you have, especially for SSHRC, requesting only $1.9 million for specific projects in 2016 and 17. And of course, Canada First Research Excellence Fund, how it is being split within the various participating agencies. So these are some of the things that we do see in the mains. We look at what is involved with the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council, and so increases in various areas. And some of the discussions that I've had with these organizations, and of course, as was mentioned by Mr. Arsenault, also our colleges and universities and polytechnics, they're looking at ways to make sure that the dollars that are being allocated are allocated in a manner that is going to help innovation, and so to make sure that we have the incubators that are there. And I think when you have your discussions with those officials, that they'll be very, very pleased to be able to expand upon some of their concerns and issues that they have. Where I would like to go with this is dealing with, and perhaps Minister Baines, one of the things that you had mentioned in your notes had to do with supporting clean tech. And as someone that lives 6 miles from 53 windmills, and you take a look at the energy that is actually used in order to produce them, trying to find out the information, just how many years that one windmill would have to spin before you actually just pay for that. For someone that lives in the province of Alberta, where we have the best, the cleanest technology in the world as far as our oil and natural gas is concerned, I don't see any mention about oil and natural gas. What I see is clean tech as though that is the only definition that this government is able to deal with. So I don't see it particularly in the budget as I had gone through it. And again, you speak about in the budget how a low business investment is a biggest single drag on Canada's economic growth. This is one of the critical aspects that we have right now, where we have companies and businesses that are saying that there's no way that we can invest in certain areas. The assumption is that, well, don't worry, we've got green tech, we've got this tech, we've got that tech. You'll have lots of places to put your money. But where's that money going to come from in the next few years? So these are the issues that we have. Of course, arguments that we have with regards to whether or not we should be able to get our natural resources to tidewater, critical components as well in discussions, recognizing that the oil that we had as people are driving here does not come from Canada, that it is from countries such as Venezuela and Saudi Arabia and Iran. The dollars that are spent, the income that comes from those countries is not spent on the infrastructure that we need. And therefore, if we can make sure that we have Canadian oil and gas industries treated fairly and looked at in a positive light, rather than this this only one direction, I think that you'll find that we'll do as we have always done, which is lead the world as far as technology is concerned, lead the world as far as regulations are concerned, and I believe that we'll find that there is going to be an extremely positive position from there. So when I get a chance later, and I see you're very close to the button, Mr. Chair, I would then like to speak about some of the issues as far as Statistics Canada is concerned and small business. Thank you.
I'm not sure if there was a question in there, but time is up.
I can very briefly, Chair, if you
Okay,
may permit.
I will allow it.
Again, thank you very much for the intervention to my colleague. And I just want to make one thing very clear with respect to our government's position. We understand that technology prevails in every single sector, including oil and gas. The point I made in my opening remarks was innovation is very important for our success, and we need to embed that culture of innovation in every single sector. That's the only way we're going to be able to compete in the next 5, 10, 15 years, and that especially includes oil and gas. And with respects to that sector, we make many different investments and we have many different initiatives through the Western Economic Diversification Portfolio. So it's an area that we understand, we appreciate, it's part of our economic mix, and it's something that we do not undervalue or underappreciate.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move to Mr. Araya. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Baines, as you know that we have launched a study on the manufacturing sector. I am a bit concerned about the status of manufacturing and the directions we are going in Canada. I would like to compare Canada with the oil-rich Arab countries. The only common things we have is we have oil, the Arab countries have also oil. But there, every single day, a new manufacturing plant is coming up. And it is not just adding value to oil, it is not just the petrochemical plants or the fertilizer plants or the power-intensive industry, but manufacturing companies in every segment. They don't have expertise, they don't have technology, they don't have manpower, they don't have market. We have all these things. I'm a bit concerned that we are not looking very seriously going beyond the auto sector or the aerospace sector now that we are talking of clean tech, which is good. But still, we have a lot of opportunities in Canada, especially in Ottawa. Many times talking about Ottawa, people forget that in Ottawa, we have more number of knowledge-based companies than in Kitchener-Waterloo. We have DRDC here, we have got technology sector here. There are a lot of opportunities here to promote the C4 ISR companies, the command, control, communications, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance industries. The U.S. defense R&D budget is around $90 billion, and Canadian companies are considered to be U.S. domestic companies when it comes to U.S. defense acquisition. Maybe we are facing this problem maybe because we don't have an industrial policy which will create a sort of roadmap on these kind of sectors, where to go, how to go. What are your thoughts on that?
Again, thank you very much for the question. And I just want to highlight a few key observations from the outside. One is the manufacturing sector is still very important to Canada. Even though we've seen a sharp decline, it still represents 1.7 million jobs, 10% of our national economy. So it's a significant player when it comes to economic success presently and going forward. And also, I want to highlight the fact that it usually doesn't get enough credit, but it represents 42% of Canada's total business R&D spending. So a significant amount of research and development investments are done in the manufacturing sector. What I think the point you made, and I think we need to do a better job of branding it, it simply doesn't apply to the auto sector, or it doesn't simply apply to the aerospace sector, but it's prevalent in the agricultural sector, the forestry sector, the mining sector, the digital technology sector that you talked about, life sciences. It's prevalent. Manufacturing is prevalent in all those different sectors, and I think we need to do a better job of branding that, marketing that, and coordinating that. So with respects to your point about what is the government's view going forward, what kind of policies are we going to set, I say we have to be in the setting smart industrial policy. I think it's absolutely important. We're competing with jurisdictions that are doing the same thing, and we will fall behind if we don't play an active role. And so, ICT adoption is going to be critical. You mentioned industrial and technological benefits. So this is something that we take very seriously. With the National Shipbuilding Strategy, for example, coming up, we want to make sure we have a strong value proposition that enables us to gain a strong footprint here in Canada with respects to the ITB process. And that's important simply because we don't want to lose out on the opportunity of creating companies that not only not a part of that process, but gain the expertise, the skills, the know-how, so they can be part of global supply chains going forward. So the idea, again, is set ourselves up for the long-term success when it comes to industrial policy. So this is an area that is a priority for us. As you know full well, in our budget, we talked about growing the economy. And, we have slow growth rates. Even though we go up, they're very modest. And we have to understand that we want to create good quality jobs. And so the investments that we'll be making ITBs are going to be focused on the middle class and good quality jobs. So it's very consistent with our overall government's economic agenda. And we are very committed to this. And we made sound investments. I illustrated the automotive sector, for example, but we made sound investments in the budget and will continue to do so going forward.
1 minute.
Okay, on the ITB, the previous government changed the rules on the ITBs, and I believe now the defense contracts worth less than $100 million. ITB is not obligatory. What are your thoughts on that? And then there's large amount of billions of dollars of worth of ITB obligations outstanding. I think we should push these defense companies to fulfill their obligation under that.
Again, you've done your homework, so thank you very much for your comments, and you're speaking on a very important and substantive issue. You're absolutely right with respects to there's been about 125 contracts since 1986 to up and present, which reflect about $37.7 billion worth of industrial and technological benefits. And there's approximately $9 billion that are left outstanding that we're still in progress, not outstanding, but are still in progress. So we obviously are monitoring that, very engaged, very much on top of that, because as you know, as part of our industrial and technological benefit initiatives, it's a dollar for dollar match. So any kind of acquisition we make, we want to make sure we gain the same dollar value in terms of an ITB footprint here in Canada. And so this is something that is a priority for us in my department. We have a lot of capacity built within our team. As I mentioned, I've got a tremendous department, a tremendous team across this country, and they fully understand and appreciate how important this is for economic success going forward, and it is a priority for our department and myself.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you very much. And for the final question in the first round, we'll go to Mr. Massey. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll maybe wrap the questions together here so that Minister Duncan can use most of her time. I'll make them quick without a bunch of stuff to add the importance of it, but has the new scientist situation with regards to muzzling, has there been an internal directive, to make sure that there's, I guess, support and understanding that they can speak, so like an internal directive? And then the new chief of science officer, I know that there was no money in the estimates for that, and I was just wondering whether this is going to be created through legislation and ensuring the independence of the new science officer. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And as always, it's a pleasure to work with you. Let me start with the unmuzzling. As I mentioned earlier, our first announcement as a government, my colleague here reinstated the long-form census because we want a government that's based on evidence, fact, and science so we can make good policy decisions. The next announcement was to unmuzzle our scientists. Again, my colleague, and just 2 days after being sworn in. This is a really important issue to us. So scientists are free to speak in an official capacity where they have direct responsibility and expertise and on scientific and technical matters related to their work. And that was announced on November 6th. There's been no change. I'll give you an example. On November 23rd, we had 2 scientists briefing the Prime Minister and the premiers on climate change, which really speaks to the openness. You've also mentioned the Chief Science Officer. It's important that the chiefs, as I said, we're right at the beginning of that analysis. So I'm not going to preclude it. And you also mentioned that there's no money in the budget. At some point, we will be opening up a search for the Chief Science Officer, and it will be open across Canada, and we will get the funding then.
Thank you very much. Okay, this ends round one. So we will proceed to round two, where we'll have, again, 4 questions at 7 minutes, followed by 4 questions at 5 minutes. So we will start with Ms. Mendez. You have 7 minutes.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That was in the second round. Oh, second round. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Mes questions sont à Ms. Jagger.
My questions are addressed to Minister Jagger to allow you to speak as well. The government announced several times and indeed emphasized that the commitments towards improving the conditions for success for women and Indigenous peoples were an important part of the government mandate. I believe that small SMEs are often a way for women and more marginalized people to aspire to economic success. Could you tell us a bit about what you see as being part of your mandate to facilitate economic access for women and Indigenous peoples through small businesses? Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the question, I will answer in English, given the lack of time. If we had more time, then I could try and answer you in French, perhaps next time.
And to maximize the time, part of the mandate is to go into underrepresented groups. It is something that our nation is not doing well. When it comes to the potential of our nation, I think when it comes to young people, women, First Nations, and Aboriginal people, that's where we need to tap into. The first and overlying, I would say, issue for everyone and every business owner is that we need to make it easier for them to do business. So if we can make it easier for our business owners, our entrepreneurs to be able, and that's what we refer to as the red tape or the administrative burden, that's something that we need to reduce and we need to do a better job at, and we need to increase access. So that's one point, I would say. When it comes to programs and services that the government offers, what I'm finding as I travel across the nation, oftentimes by the time they find out about programs and services, it's too late, and they've already had to face many challenges and difficulties. And that is something I would like to see us do better, is allow Canadians to know what programs and services are available. Something that excites me is the RDAs, the Regional Development Agencies, actually coming under one portfolio so that we're sharing best practices, and then we can allow ourselves the opportunity to share best practices as to what's working. What I'm finding is that there is certain regions that are better at communicating than others, and this is an obstacle that we'd like to see overcome. Someone I work closely with is Futurepreneur. Futurepreneurs, the people they're reaching out to are youth. 40% of their clients, if I may, are women. So we're learning from them. They want to do more. They're ready for the challenge, and I'm excited to see that kind of impact. So I am communicating closely with them as to how are they engaging those groups and what are the challenges they're facing. Every roundtable or every community I visit, one thing I ask for is always to do a roundtable with women entrepreneurs. Not only do I meet with our, I would say, routine stakeholders that have always interacted with government, but I try to make a point of tapping into people within that community and utilizing the resources of the department to ensure as many people around that table have never been invited before, so that we can see where some of those challenges are. So you'll see when it comes to the programs and the way that we're communicating, we're allowing that inclusive, those values to be shared. Something this government's done very well is that our cabinet has gender parity. There has been this huge opportunity to empower women like we've not seen in a long time. The Prime Minister has taken a great leadership role as well to ensure that the role of a woman is actually within the workforce. They are job creators, and that we want to empower them. There are other challenges that all people face, and we're providing the ability to allow all Canadians to know that we need to work together and we need to collaborate to overcome those obstacles. So when it comes to women, I make a conscious effort to reach out to them. Just like Minister Baines and Minister Duncan, my door is open and we are available to hear that constructive feedback. And we've received a lot of constructive feedback. And that's something I find when it comes to women especially, not to sound so biased, but it's constructive feedback as to how can we make it easier. What is coming in the way? And so that's one step as well. And then First Nations and Aboriginal communities. I feel that being given this role, it's important for me to take that first step to reach out into those communities so that we are present. Governments of the day cannot wait for Canadians to come to us with their concerns. I would like to see us take more of a proactive approach, and that's the style that I'm trying to go ahead with.
Thank you very much. C'est une excellente réponse à une partie de la question.
That's an excellent answer to part of my question. Now, when it comes to economic development, Canada-Quebec region, which is the one I know the best, of course, would there be any way of facilitating loan guarantees? Once again, for women and Indigenous peoples, people who are just launching themselves in business for the first time, who have no business experience. Is there any way, would there be specific programs to support people, to guarantee their loans, not subsidies, but loan guarantees, to help people gain some confidence in launching themselves in business for the first time? This is a problem that I often witness, especially amongst women and women of some communities.
Question, Mr. Chair, and I will be fast. And sometimes I talk too fast, so you let me know. Within my Canada includes Quebec. My Canada is a bilingual nation, and that's why I love the fact that I do speak French. And one thing that my father was committed to when I was younger was that we would go to immersion school. And that meant, going to a different school. So when it comes to programs and services, I would just like to highlight the Canada Business Network. The Canada Business Network is a website which provides entrepreneurs with the resources and information they need in the grants and programs, and it's actually quite friendly to use, and I've interacted with it myself. Do I see opportunities for improvement? Yes, but it is a great tool. BizPal is another phenomenal tool that I'm realizing is not well known, and it is something that allows our nation to come together. So we work with provinces and territories and municipalities so that you can actually say where you're coming from, and it lists every single regulation and permit that's needed regardless of where you live in the nation. And I was in Vancouver not too long ago, and we had our first First Nation join BizPal. And that was an exciting announcement because we know that that's where the growth will occur, and I look forward to continuing that answer after. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, we are about halfway through, so I'm going to suspend for 10 minutes for a health break, and the cameras, the TVs will be off, so let's make it quick in 10 minutes. Thank you. Back, everybody. And now that we've had a nice health break, we are going to continue on with this round of questioning. Mr. Nuttall, you have 7 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just right off the hop, Mr. Chair, and I'm going to respect your decision. I don't want this committee to break down into some sort of circus, but I do want to state that the standing order moved by the Liberal members of this committee, approved by the Liberal members of this committee without opposition support, says that 48 hours notice shall be required for any substantive motion to be considered by the committee unless the motion relates directly to the business then under consideration.
Mr. Nuttall.
And therefore, Mr. Chair,
actually, you said you weren't going to challenge it, and that
it is my belief.
Are you challenging my ruling?
I already said no, I'm not going to, but I do want the minister to reflect that the standing orders of this committee allowed for that motion to continue, and
I've ruled that it was a substantive
Mr.
motion.
Chair, I believe I have the floor. Mr. Chair, I will continue with what we are here to do, but I look forward to this committee finally dealing with and moving on the Bombardier matter. If I could, Mr. Baines. So the last statement that you made was that the committees are responsible for their own future, that they have their own independence. And while I respect that, I would also remind you that at one point you were not invited to this committee, and it required your public intervention to be invited to this committee. And therefore, I would say that based on that, there's evidence that this committee looks for your cue, your colleagues look for your cue, your leadership on the matter. Since between a Friday and a Monday, all members of the committee from your party decided to flip-flop the other way and invite you based on your words publicly in the paper. Therefore, Mr. Minister, if we were to conduct a study on Bombardier, would you ignore it?
Thank you very much, Chair. I did hear that this committee was a bit entertaining. So I'm glad
I don't find it entertaining,
and I say
Minister.
that, and I don't say that lightly, because I do respect procedure, and I do respect this committee, and I do respect my colleagues. First and foremost, I hold all members in this committee in high regard, both government members and opposition members. Secondly, the chair, along with the clerk, there's a certain process in place, and I'm confident that the process has existed for a very long period of time to deal with matters that you've just addressed. And I also want to take this opportunity to say that you have 3 ministers before you for 3 hours, which is unprecedented. And this speaks to our government's commitment of being open and transparent. We welcome the opportunity
with all due
to
respect,
have
Mr.
an
Minister,
opportunity
I did
to
ask you a
engage with
question.
you,
Mr. Nuttall.
Mr. Chair,
one moment.
Glad to.
This has nothing to do with the question that was asked. Nothing. Mr. Minister, I would ask again, will you ignore a committee report regarding Bombardier? Yes or no? Very easy question to answer.
Again, as I said, the committee determines its own fate. Whatever procedures and process and reports you have, I wish you all the best in that endeavor. I'm here now to take this opportunity to address any questions you have about the main estimate.
Just asked you a question, sir.
The
and it's
mandate,
part of
Okay,
about the budget.
I'm going to intervene for a second. Mr. Nuttall, I would ask that you respect. You're asking questions.
Yes.
The minister is giving you an answer. Please tone down.
Mr. Chair, this is a legal proceeding. This committee is essentially on par with the court, and the questions that are asked need to be answered. The witnesses need to answer the questions. Mr. Baines, I guess the final question I would ask you, if you could give me a yes or no. If you don't want to, then just say I don't want to. Are you specifically opposed to this committee conducting a study and providing an opinion on the matter?
Again, thank you very much for this opportunity, Chair, and for the member for talking about an important matter. As you know, the issue with respect to Bombardier has been in the public for a few months, and the company came to me on December the 11th to request up to $1 billion. We've been very clear since then that we are looking at the business case, that we're doing our due diligence, and we will do what's in the best interest of the public. And I can say that we've been along that process, and if there's any feedback that I receive from any
Thank you.
source, we welcome that. I have an open door policy and look forward to engaging this committee, other stakeholders who want to give an opinion. We welcome that. Again, it's part of our government's open and transparent process, and I look forward to any feedback that will help us in terms of our due diligence.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. And I would say it is unprecedented to have 3 hours with 3 ministers, and I congratulate you on that. My expectation is when those ministers are here before this committee, that those ministers answer the questions that are asked of them. Mr. Minister, there was an announcement yesterday of $9.7 million related to Car of the Future. So first of all, let me say on behalf of this side of the House that we support the Car of the Future program, okay? One thing that was missing in the announcement was how many jobs were created using that $9.7 million. Could you tell me in a finite number specifically to this contribution, how many jobs?
So thank you again for the question. The program you're talking about is the Automotive Supplier Innovation Fund. This is an announcement that Minister Chagger and I made in Kitchener. This pertained to our commitment about investment in innovation in the auto sector, particularly within the supplier community. We had up to $19.6 million worth of commitments that we had. And of that, $9.7 million was for the company Pravala. And if you look at the statement that we had given in terms of the background, it mentions specifically the dollar amount for each of those initiatives. And in some cases, the jobs depend on, again, how the company proceeds going forward. But I can tell you
just to
one
clarify,
thing
because I only have 30 seconds left, how many jobs?
Again, if you look at the
it's not there. That's why I'm asking.
No, that's my
because,
point.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
We've
Okay.
made the investment.
So no jobs?
No, see, that's my point. If you allow me to finish, I can answer that question. So the investment that we make allows these companies to be able to invest in people and processes and products. That does create jobs, and those jobs can vary from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20. But the whole goal is that it's not simply about jobs today, but it's about creating success for them going forward. So these are meaningful investments that do create good quality jobs.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. I know my time is done.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to point out, my role as chair is I don't need to defend my ministers, our ministers here. That's not what it is. But I will demand that we pay due respect. If you ask a question, let them finish answering their question, please. Okay, we are going to move on to Mr. Massey. You have 7 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate this opportunity to follow up. I'm going to ask a question with regards to asbestos and then how it relates to our industries. Asbestos is actually estimated to kill around 2,000 people per year, and the exposure actually has been increasing. Lung cancers, death. In fact, some of my family members, one of them in particular, was in a plant in Windsor that asbestos was the leading cause of death and illness. It's on the rise. 1992 indicated that there was 276 recorded cases related to asbestos, and 25 years later, they're up to 560. Despite the fact that Sweden, Iceland, Denmark, Singapore, New Zealand, Japan, Australia, and South Africa have banned asbestos, Canada still has asbestos in many not only products that we have here, but also we allow the importation. And I'd be, specific as an example where it relates to industry is the fact that we bring in, say, for example, brake pads from other countries. It's against the law, for example, for Canadian manufacturers. And I worked on the right to repair bill. That was the automotive aftermarket. That there was I wanted legislation, but we got actually an agreement with the industry and the government at the time for that. And Canadians, companies, some could actually import them for use and sale of asbestos brake pads. Meanwhile, those that Canadian retailers and small other shops are only trying to do the right thing, have to compete against that. So I guess the question, I know the Canadian Labour Congress is working on this issue as well too, and I would be remiss if I didn't note Pat Martin's work on this, my former colleague here, and I can't use his terminology the way that he used to by any means, and I miss it on a regular basis, but he's not here for that. So we're looking for, I know CLC is looking at a comprehensive ban. You know, I know you guys have announced, the government has announced no new buildings. We'll have that for public buildings, but also a national registry of our public buildings. But also, too, I think what's most important for industry in terms of fair competition is that we actually ban asbestos products coming into Canada so they don't have unfair competition versus those that want to do the right things. And I'll conclude with this and let it open to everything. Is I worked really hard when I first got here with the government of the day, and I think it was Minister Goodall that made the decision at the end of the day that it used to be applicable so you could have business fines and penalties as a business-related expense and get up to 50% back at tax time for that. And so actually held up industry committee for a long time until we actually got that finished, because say for example one case was drug marketing problems with $40 million fine, they got $11 million of tax time, so we ended that. So is there a chance, or is there a way we can work forward sooner rather than later than banning asbestos imports that actually versus non-asbestos products that they can compete fairly?
Thank you very much, Brian, for that set of questions and your advocacy on this very important issue. I must say that you raised some good points about the positions we've taken with respect to the National Registry. You raised some good points about competition and making sure that's fair. I can tell you that we're more than willing to work with CLC on this matter to be able to address this issue. I can say personally that I don't support the use of asbestos. I think we need to move beyond that. And I think this government is committed to that, and we're willing to work with CLC and yourself and others to make sure that we find a solution that helps the issues around competition and, of course, making sure that we identify all our assets, all the different areas that has asbestos, and make sure that's part of the registry as well.
And I really appreciate that, because what I found with some industries is they felt that they'd take the shortcuts because the business-related expense was something they could actually occur in their operations and expected that versus that of doing the right thing. So oil dumping, all those different things that took place. And I find the same situation here with asbestos for that. If we're successful in that market, would it be too much to then look at a comprehensive business, especially with small business in the future, to the private sector of a registry? I think we really need to start at least thinking about that. The public sector is one thing we could immediately control, and then the second thing would be eventually a registry of all those buildings, because small business, and I know this has affected a lot of those that are trying to do startups, they often have to take older buildings and they find uncertain surprises. So I don't know if anybody...
I just would say very briefly on that, that we, to your point, we have to lead by example first, so we have to figure out from a public point of view what our policies are and lead by example. And there's no doubt then that would send a clear signal to the private sector. But I think the first step is that we got to make sure that from our perspective, the public perspective, we show leadership.
Mr. Chair, how much time do I have?
You have 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
Perfect. So I don't want to forget about tourism here as we, and I have to declare a conflict of interest in this one because I have a private member's bill C221.
A tourist.
Yeah, a tourist, yeah. I have that coming up for first debate coming up. For those aren't aware, C221 was passed in this House of Commons previously under a different thing. It's about single sports betting. The reality is that we have about $10 billion of single event sports betting going on in this country that goes basically to organized crime for the most part. There's $4 billion that goes to offshore accounts that are unregulated because they just do it with the click of a mouse, so to speak, or a tap on the screen now. I'm getting dated. But this bill is coming forward to only allow provinces the choice if they want to. Not necessarily, and we have Ontario, British Columbia, Quebec, others that are supportive of this. It's a huge issue for tourism, for our tourism sector, and it will also bring revenues back to the province, and it will finally be regulated, and some money will go towards actually the different public policies. So is that something that is going to be analyzed? Is there a position on the government of that? I know it's a PMB, but I'd like to hear what type of stance you might have on that.
So again, with respect to private members' bill, there's a process that we have in place. We consult widely with our caucus members and cabinet colleagues on this. As you just mentioned, it's just been put up, so we're looking forward to that debate and discussion. So we at this time don't have an official, but I don't on a personal level, and I believe many of my colleagues who will learn about it will start to have that discussion. At this point, we don't have an official position.
you're getting packages in your office now as we speak, actually.
Thank you very much for that, Brian.
Yeah.
I'll just reiterate the comments of the minister, and part of the open and transparent government is actually having these debates and receiving that information. And when you're going back to evidence-based decision-making and so forth, any insight and information that the member will be able to offer through the chair will be more than welcome. So we look forward to that conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will go to Mr. Arya. You have 7 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Baines, the Strategic Aerospace and Defense Initiative, SADE, is one of the best programs I know Industry Canada manages. And I know a bit about this program because I was involved with one of the recipients of support in this program. One thing I noticed then, which has now been changed, is the processing time that is required. Processing time for the small industries now has been reduced to 4 months. However, this 4 months is after the application is accepted, which may take anywhere between 2 to 3 months. That's number one. Number two, in this program, if you see, bulk of the money contributions that have been made are to major companies. I think we have to streamline this a bit so that it is much easier for the small businesses, small companies to access this great program. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you very much again for the question. And you raise a good point with respects to SADE, known as the Strategic Aerospace and Defense Initiative. And this is obviously helps firms develop new technologies, the ones that you described with your own personal experience, and attract and retain highly skilled workforce and collaborate with universities and colleges. So it's a really neat initiative that really focuses on collaboration and R&D. And as of March 31st of 2016, this year, SADE has approved funding for 39 projects with government total support of $1.3 billion. And the key part, the exciting part is the leverage. So it's not simply about that investment, but how much is it leveraged? And it's leveraging close to $2.7 billion. And so I think your point that you raised with regards to processing time is an interesting one. I haven't heard it much, I must confess, from our clients. But absolutely, we're more than willing to look at it because the idea is if they meet the requirements to get to the funds sooner rather than later, therefore that we can not only make those investments, but we can leverage the additional dollars that I alluded to.
Minister Duncan, NSERC, we are investing about $1 billion and deal with about 11,000 professors and about 30,000 postgraduates and postdoctoral fellows. Once again, in my previous life as a technology executive, we did collaborate with some universities in the very high-end technology R&D development we were making. One challenge we faced was that being located in Ottawa, we knew the research being done in Carleton University. We had collaborated with them. However, it was very difficult for us to know what sort of research is being done in, say, University of Calgary, Vancouver, Edmonton, Halifax. These huge investments of $1 billion we are doing, how can we streamline the process so that the output or the outcome of this investment is easily available to small companies across Canada?
Thank you for your excellent question, and thank you for the work you've done throughout your life. I'd like to start by talking a bit about NSERC, which funds the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council. And I've talked about this $95 million top-up, and I'm going to briefly mention it again. Again, that is the highest contribution in 10 years, and there will be $30 million to NSERC, $30 million to CIHR, which is the Canadian Institutes for Health Research. To come back to Mr. Dreesen's question, there is $16 million now for the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council. That's actually an increase. It's closing that gap that's existed. So that's really positive news. And there was $19 million for the Research Support Fund. You raised a really important question, and I think that's why in Budget 2016, I've been tasked with looking at a comprehensive review of federal support for science. We want to make sure it's we've got the right support system for basic science, for applied system, for that continuum I've talked about. And that fundamental review is going to allow us to start answering some important questions. For example, are we doing enough to help our young researchers? We're hearing that some young researchers are getting their first grant at 41 or 42 or 43. Well, you can all imagine the difficulty of starting a job, trying to build a research program, possibly having to balance family. So that's one that we want to ensure we've got the right investment. Are they effective? Are they strategic? Do they meet the needs of Canada? And do they meet the needs of our researchers? And another example I'll give you is the Network of Centers of Excellence. Really good program. And I talked about the stem cell network at the beginning. And that investment, that $80 million, 225 researchers, is there something that needs to be available afterwards? So this review is going to start to allow us to ask a question like you did, but as well as other questions. Have we got the right system?
Okay.
15 seconds.
In my riding of Nepean, we have got quite a number of federal scientists. One complaint I heard was that under the previous government, because of the cutbacks, the opportunities for these scientists to participate in various conferences where the real knowledge sharing, knowledge exchange occurs was quite limited. I hope under your leadership things have changed.
Thank you for the question. And we heard similar things as we went across the country. What the researchers said, first of all, is that the granting councils were starved during the last decade. I mentioned we fell from 3rd to 8th on higher education investment in R&D. We fell from 18th to 26th on business R&D. And we heard at the institutions that there were real infrastructure needs across the country. We had one institution say that they have $1 billion in delayed infrastructure needs in construction, maintenance, repair. So we have been listening, and that's why we have this new infrastructure fund that again is due on May 9th. It's to take advantage of the summer construction season, and it's to build local development in our communities.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to Ms. Gladue. You have 5 minutes.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you to Minister Duncan and Minister Baines and Minister Chagger for being with us today. My first question is for Ms. Duncan, and it has to do with the granting councils. I'm very pleased to see that the structure of the granting councils that does excellent applied research was kept in place. But I'm looking for more detail on the breakdown of what % of the funding for them goes to agriculture, forestry, mining, natural resources, and clean tech. Do you have any additional detail on how the money is spread out in those areas?
Let me begin by thanking my honorable colleague, and I want to say it's been a pleasure to work with you. We've got a really good working relationship, and we talk very regularly. You raise a really important point. Applied research matters. And let me take this opportunity to really recognize the work of the colleges and the polytechnics in this area. They can do, because colleges are so embedded in their communities. I'm proud to have Humber College in my riding. They know the community so well, so they can do a lot of work regarding social innovation. We have a social innovation fund, but they also respond so quickly to industry's needs. And I know you're a former engineer, you work very closely with your college. Industry can come in, a small business, a medium-sized business, and they can get the answers they need very quickly. I think you've raised a really good, you've also talked about clean tech. This is an area that's extremely important to our government. This is a government that believes in climate change.
Percentages, do you have a breakdown?
This is an important area, and we've made there are investments in clean tech to take action on climate change, but I'd like to talk about an initiative that's very relevant to Minister Baines and myself. We've announced $20 million for the Canada Excellence Research Chairs. Currently, there are 26 Excellence Research Chairs in Canada. For those of you who do not know about this program, it's to attract the best and brightest
That's
to
fine,
Canada.
thanks. I'll switch gears then. As you know, I'm the chair for Status of Women, and I'm interested in promoting more women to be in science, technology, engineering, and math roles. And so I'm interested to know in the budget, how much money is allocated to do that, and what are the strategies that you're going to use there?
Ms. Gladue, thank you for the question. And you and I have talked. This is an issue that's very important to us both. I've spent the past 25 years of my life fighting prejudice, fighting so that young women coming up behind me didn't suffer some of the things I've done. It's been 25 years. We need more women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. 30 years ago, the percentage was 20. Today, it's 22%. That's not good enough in 2016. So in terms of investments, we have programs like Promo Science. We have MyTax, which I've talked about. There's a $14 million investment in MyTax, which is to bridge academia and industry. And there is, in Budget 2016, a $73 million investment for co-op positions to get more young people and in underrepresented groups such as women and Indigenous people. Thank you for the question.
All right. 1 minute. Okay, so there's a lot of speculation regarding NRC after the leader went on personal leave and the reorganization was canceled. I wondered if you could comment on what the plan is there to reorganize and what costs are associated with that.
Thank you for the question. Let me begin by saying the National Research Council is one of the research jewels in Canada. This is an institution, an organization that has a proud 100-year history of scientific discovery. And we've had Nobel Prizes associated, whether it's measuring the distance between electrons or the distance between stars. We have to ensure that the NRC is successful going into the future, both in basic and applied research. Currently, it's about 47% and 53% between the two, but it's our job to ensure its success. And as you rightly point out, President John McDougall is on personal leave, and in his place is one of the vice presidents while he's on that personal leave, and her name's Maria Aubry. She's a vice president.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We will now move to Mr. Bayless. You have 5 minutes.
So my question will be for Minister Baines. I'm very interested in seeing how innovation is used to diversify our economy. I think the Canadian economy always benefits the more diversified it can be, and we've mentioned a lot, the government's mentioned a lot about an innovation agenda. Can you give us some, expand upon how that's specifically going to help small startups, innovative small startups? What is the plan for innovative small startups?
I'll start off, but I suspect my colleague from small businesses will also want to speak to the subject matter. So your first point with respect to diversification, we've seen a sharp decline in commodity prices, and it's exposed our economy, and we realize more than ever the importance of diversification. I think Canadians understand that, different regions in the country understand that, and our government is committed to that. And so diversification takes place through the regional development RDAs, agencies, and we focus a lot on diversification in some of the regions. We as a government have made commitments to clean tech. And again, a lot of the focus through the RDAs and clean tech, for example, is focused on small businesses because they're the ones that are taking the risks. They're the ones that are coming up with new ideas. And so we want to make sure that they have the opportunity to succeed. With respect to the innovation agenda, I just want to take a step back on that because I think what we need to be mindful of is when we say innovation, why are we talking about innovation? And I think it's very important to realize innovation is important to deal with some significant macro level issues that we're dealing with as a country. One is slow growth, and this is a challenge we see globally, but in Canada as well. And the other is with an aging population. And so to deal with these macro challenges, macroeconomic challenges, we need good policies domestically to be able to address those issues. And innovation is key. And so when we talk about innovation, we want to focus on not just simply innovation traditionally through the ICT sector, but social innovation. So that's basically saying we want to find solutions to problems. And so that is a much broader definition. So keeping that in mind, we focused on an innovation agenda that was articulated in our budget. And it laid down the groundwork for the comprehensive agenda that's coming forward, but it started to signal very clearly the areas that are priority for us. One is, of course, the need for enhancing skills in entrepreneurship. So it's about making sure we bring the best and brightest from around the world to come here. We equip our local citizens to become entrepreneurs, to really create that culture of risk-taking. Because innovation, you're not going to get it right the first time or the second time or the third time. You're going to fail a few times. So how do we create that entrepreneur spirit? So we raise that as a key point of our innovation agenda. Secondly, and this is really neat, is because it's not simply about jobs alone, it's about making sure that we continue to innovate and find new ideas that create future jobs. So research is so critical. World-leading research is absolutely critical, and that's why we made significant investments in the budget for our granting councils and to post-secondary institutions, because that's very important for us. The third one is the infrastructure, innovation infrastructure. So you want the right people, but with the right tools and the right environment in the right place. So, of course, the $120 billion historic investment in infrastructure is absolutely essential for those who want to innovate, but specifically the $2 billion investment for post-secondary institutions sends a clear signal that that's an ecosystem that we believe in, that kind of arena where industry and academia and small businesses come together. And so we really invested significant amounts in that kind of infrastructure. And the last, of course, is supporting a business environment for commercialization and growth. And to that point, we invested $800 million on incubators and accelerators. And I can tell you right now, I was at Ryerson University, I was a visiting professor there, and the Digital Media Zone is a great example of an incubator where that magic happens. You have young people, and it's very important that we bet on young people. I think that's very critical. You have young people that come together, and you really provide them with an opportunity to take their ideas to market. But what's neat is they have the business acumen there, the legal advice, the mentorship. They have that support system. So that's the kind of investment we're making when we're talking about incubators and accelerators, because we want to invest in these startups, we want to invest in young people, we want to be a global hub of innovation, and we want to help them scale up as well. And that's where the accelerator part comes in. So these are some of the key areas that we mentioned with respects to the innovation agenda that help small businesses in particular and will allow us to diversify, because as I said, we got to grow the economy and we got to create jobs.
That kind of leads me to my quick second question to Mr. Jagger.
Sorry.
I'm too late. Okay.
You're done.
Next round it is.
Thank you. We will now move to Mr. Albas.
Great.
You
Thank
have
you,
5
Mr.
minutes.
Chair. Appreciate you having me here today. Also, ministers, thank you all for attending and for your testimony here today. I'd like to start, actually, maybe I can follow up on MP Bayless's last line of questioning, Minister, if I could. Regarding the innovation, about $800 million you said has been set aside. Is that something that you're going to be the minister responsible for, or is that something that innovators and incubators are going to have to apply through the Minister of Finance? How does that work?
So in our platform, we made a commitment that innovation is critical for our growth. You know, there's 3 areas that we emphasize. We talked about infrastructure, we talked about helping the middle class, and we talked about innovation in our platform. But somehow during the campaign, innovation kind of didn't get talked up as much. We got caught in other issues and other challenges came about. But it's really great to see that emerge again in the budget that was presented on March 22nd. And the $800 million commitment that we put forward will be managed by ISED. And the idea is to say, look, those monies will go towards accelerators and incubators for the purposes of investing in young people, creating jobs, allowing them to scale up. And that's a key part I want to emphasize, because we do reasonably well when it comes to startups as a country relative to our international peers. Where we really do a poor job, or where we have an opportunity to really succeed, is helping them scale up. There's going to be takeovers, there's going to be individuals who are going to buy out companies, but we really want to help through this initiative, help companies really scale up and stay in Canada. Because if we create these large, global, successful companies, not only in Canada, but globally as well, they also then help with a supplier base. They also help mentor other companies, executive management members go up and start up other companies. It just creates a really neat ecosystem.
Good.
So this is an initiative that I'm proud to say will be worked through, and the program requirements will be brought forward in a timely manner, and it's something that our department will take a leadership role in.
Okay. Oh, I appreciate the answer, Minister. Now, in regard, I noticed, by the way, I would love to ask you about interprovincial trade, but that really isn't on the topic for today. But
Sure.
I just
no,
appreciate
if you want
the
to,
efforts.
by the way, if you want to talk about it,
no, well, you know,
any question you have, we're open to.
Well, I would just encourage just to continue because that is a big aspect, and I know it's a big challenge, and I do appreciate that you've been working with the provinces on that. Now, getting to the, I'm just looking here at the forecast and planned spending for Industry Canada's transfer payment programs on page 2 of the document that we were given. If you look at the Automotive Innovation Fund, forecast for the last fiscal year was $92.3 million. In this, what you presented says $64.7 million this year, and it decreases the following year to $54.9 and then reduces to zero in 2018-2019. Now, if you conversely look at the Automotive Supplier Innovation Program, you'll see that from 7.6 last year, it'll go to 16.5 is what's forecast this year, to 24.5 the following year. In 2018-19, it's 29.4. To me, this sends the signal that that it seems like, and by the way, Jerry Diaz had come in this room at a pre-budget consultation and spoke how competitive and innovative our automotive manufacturers are. But in the Trans-Pacific Partnership, some of the concerns have been raised around how innovative, how can our supply chain compete? Are the two related?
So which two?
The fact that we're drawing down the innovation fund and we're seeming to ramp up the automotive supplier innovation program and according for more money.
So I think this is the challenge we have with the main estimates and when we present a budget. And this is something that my colleague from Treasury Board, Mr. Bryson, will help reconcile because I think it's very important. The main estimates you see don't reflect our budget commitment. In our budget commitment, we were very clear that we extended the $500 million AIF program for another 3 years. So you will see in the supplementary estimates that extension when it comes to AIF. With respects to ASIF, that is a very important commitment that we think is critical for our supplier base. As I mentioned, my colleague, Ms. Chagger, and I had the opportunity to make some meaningful announcements. And I know the member before was asking about job numbers with regards to Pravala, where we made an investment of $9.7 million to the ASIF program that you're alluding to. And that investment will create up to 50 jobs. So we're very keen on making sure we invest in our supplier base, in the automotive sector. You know, this was welcome news by Jerry Diaz as well. He understands. This sends a clear signal to the OEMs that we're serious about investment, that we're serious about competing with Mexico and in the United States, that we're very serious about bringing, any kind of opportunity that exists, particularly on the innovation side. As I mentioned before, the auto sector is going through a major transformation, and it's about software. QNX right here in Ottawa provides 192 software parts.
I only have about 10 seconds, so I just want to add on that. So the automotive innovation funds, from your estimation, the estimates show it going down. You say that there's going to be significant funds going up. So you're saying that the funds to that auto innovation fund will go up. Is that correct?
We have extended the program by 3 years. So that's a commitment of $500 million that will be available. And that will be reflected in the supplementary estimates. What the point is to note is not simply the extension of the program, but I must confess it wasn't really well received before because it was considered to be a repayable loan, and companies essentially said, this is not helping us out. What we said is we're willing to change the profile of the funding so to make the funds more accessible, to increase the limits, to really allow OEMs and others who want to make investments to say, look, we're serious about it. We've not only allocated the funds, but we're willing to change the profile to make sure we get the investment to come here. And that's really been a cornerstone of the AIF fund going forward, and something we talked about in Kitchener a few days ago and is really well received by the automotive community and the supplier base as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move to Mr. Johari. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to take the discussion back to the plan. But before I ask the question from Minister Baines, I'd like to make a statement. I do believe we have a very clear plan. and I'm proud of our budget 2016. I like to actually cite page 110 of our plan, which clearly lays out the innovation agenda. A copy of that is available if any of my colleagues want to follow as I'm asking the question. This plan is strategic, it's focused, and it's based on a number of pillars. Mr. Bain, a couple of minutes ago, you touched on those pillars. It has key drivers, it has enablers, and it has backed up with strategic investments. If I may ask you, sir, can you circle back and really cover an overview of this plan in this framework and tell us how this framework is going to help us shape the agenda that we are planning to do over the next year, and how specifically these drivers and these enablers work hand in hand to give us the growth that we need.
Thank you very much for that question. The one point I want to highlight is that innovation is not going to happen overnight. And so this is a long-term commitment that we made as a government. So that's point one. Point two is we have an amazing department. So not only do I get the pleasure of working with my colleagues, but we have StatsCan, we have the Canadian Space Agency, we have all the regional economic development agencies, we have Destination Canada, we have the granting councils, we have BDC. So we have 15 different portfolios that are going to be aligned as a whole of department initiative to really help drive this innovation agenda. Secondly, it's about the whole of government. So this innovation agenda is saying, look, we as a government have a responsibility through our respective departments to really drive this agenda. So I'll give you an example on procurement. We procure in the billions of dollars. And as I said before, we invest a lot in startups. We do a really good job. But when they want to do business with Canada, when they want to do business with our government, we find every excuse in the book not to do it. It's very frustrating. So if you ask these small business owners, and Bardish, Ms. Chagar and I have talked about this, and she's raised this issue time and time again. We've heard it at round table time and time again. These businesses that start up are looking for their technology, their innovation to be validated. So why can't we provide some sort of demonstration program or some sort of procurement initiative to really create an opportunity for them to go abroad and say, yes, we do business with the government of Canada. So that's an example of whole of government, and that same kind of mindset will prevail throughout the different departments. So our department will play a leadership role. We're going to work with the entire, with our cabinet colleagues to help drive this agenda. And secondly, when it comes to strategic, as I said before, it's not simply government. Industry is going to help drive this. They take risks. They're the ones that invest in R&D. They're the ones that create the jobs. They're the ones that come up with the products. So they got to put some skin in the game as well. If you look at the balance sheet for some of the large companies or some of the companies across the board, they hold about 11% in cash holdings right now. They're not investing their money in innovation. They're not investing their money in R&D. They're not taking risk. Why is that? And so the onus is on them as well. And then we spend money across the country. Different provinces and different municipalities have unique initiatives when it comes to the innovation agenda, right? Before we talked about diversification. So how do we better align that? How do we make sure we're not duplicating efforts? How do we leverage that? And I'll be working with my provincial and territorial counterparts because we built such a good relationship during the agreement on internal trade that was mentioned before that we said, okay, that's great. If we're confident that we can overcome that and deal with that issue, what's the next item? The next item is slow growth, and to deal with that is innovation. So I think strategically, we understand the importance of this initiative. It is a big issue. It's going to require a long-term lens. It's going to require a lot of energy, a lot of effort from a lot of different stakeholders. And so what I want to also highlight is that I don't want to spend too much time on analysis. I don't want to spend too many times on reports. I want to focus now on an action plan. I want to focus on outcomes because people are looking for outcomes. People are saying, we know what the issues are. I mean, there might be some new areas that we need to do analysis around artificial intelligence or big data or the Internet of Things or so those areas we have to explore and do additional analysis and say, look, what kind of disruptive technologies are we dealing with and how will that impact our innovative economy? But we know what we need to do with respect to increasing R&D investments, to helping companies scale up, to really allowing us to become a global hub for entrepreneurship. And that's what I articulated before. So it's really about putting forward an agenda that's meaningful. And if you look at this budget, if you look at all the initiatives, as Minister Chagar mentioned from the Canadian Space Agency to broadband, to IRAP, to the Post-Secondary Institute Infrastructure Initiative, to the Cluster Initiative. That's combined $4.6 billion we're investing in infrastructure. So we're not just talking the talk. We are actually making significant investments to drive that agenda. And I think that's very important because it sends a very clear signal to our partners, our allies, and different levels of government that we're serious about this, and we're very committed to it.
Thank you very much. We will move to Mr. Massey. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I had an opportunity to raise in the House of Commons on this and then follow up at the Parliamentary Secretary. And I'd like to, since we've had our health break, I want to talk gas. So we're clear on this one. At any rate, one of the things that was brought forward by a former member of Parliament for Ajax, I believe, Dan McTagg, was the weekly publishing of petroleum inventory report to be done in Canada, similar to that of the Department of Energy's weekly petroleum status report in the United States. We had called for this being done under an ombudsman office separate to that, so make sure that Canadians are protected at the pumps. At that time, Minister Goodell and Minister McCallum adopted it, and it was later on dropped by the next administration. So if this way they get the Friday publications and it's published on Wednesday, it provides some independence. So this also fits within protecting and rejuvenating the independence of our civil servants for that. So I know that the response has been the Competition Bureau, and there has been a few things that they have tackled on that, but I likened it to being, attacking an elephant with a fly swatter. So I just put it to you, is there anything that, if we don't do it through the Competition Bureau, is there any way to actually get a little bit more consumer accountability for pricing with regards to the oil and gas industry? And I want to give you time, so I don't want to get into the whole issue of why it's necessary.
Yeah. No, I think I know why it's necessary because I heard it at the doors. The issue is not. Pardon?
30 seconds.
Okay, so I'll be very quick, Chair. I heard it at the doors because, it was more prevalent when gas prices were high. It becomes less prevalent when gas prices decline. But the bottom line is it's about competition, it's about fairness, regardless of what the price level is. And I just want to quickly highlight, we'll take into account what you've said, but this is a real issue that impacts people. It's a pocketbook issue, and it's a meaningful issue that we can't take lightly. You're right. The Competition Bureau does have provisions to look at this issue and against price fixing, etc. So this was discussed at the Late Show by my parliamentary secretary. He did an eloquent job. He could do a much better job of talking about this issue. But he highlighted, and I want to highlight too, that 33 individuals and 7 companies have pled guilty under the Competition Bureau for these kinds of price fixing, these kinds of problems. And we've had $4 million in fines and 54 months of total combined jail time for these individuals. So there has been punishment given out for those that try to cut corners and take advantage of the system.
That's not enough.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's where we stand in the interest of time and being fair. I've reallocated. We're into our last round. If we keep it tight and stick to it, we could get through. So we'll do 3 minutes for each question. Each question, everybody has 3 minutes, and we should be able to get through with just most of our questions being answered if we keep it tight. So we're going to go to Ms. Mendez. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Question again to Minister Chagger. Tourism Canada is one of our most significant export services or service exports, and it represents close to 2% of our GDP, 600,000 domestic jobs. Yet we haven't had a strategy, national strategy in tourism since 2011. So from 2000 to 2014, Canada dropped from an 8th rank in the world standings to a 17th rank. Do you think there would be something coming from your ministry to develop and help Canada's competitors recover in the tourism industry?
So this government is taking tourism very seriously. It is an industry that is really important to driving the economy forward. On to an earlier point, we talked about underrepresented groups within the tourism sector. 35% of jobs are going to people. Majority of the jobs are going to people 35 years of age and younger. So it's and they're good jobs and it's meaningful employment. So we are serious about a strategy moving forward. The budget showed a commitment of $50 million over 2 years to Destination Canada. Destination Canada is the crown marketing agency for the nation. And I'll tell you that in the short time that I've been in this role, I traveled to Boston for the Boston Globe Show. And when we were there, you know, I was excited because I love my nation, but my industry partners, my tourism industry partners were also excited because for the first time, and which I thought was fascinating, that it was the first time that Canada was in one pavilion. So what's been happening in the past is that provinces and territories are having to represent themselves. But for the first time, we've got Destination Canada, who I understand came to the committee, who is actually working with all provinces and territories to ensure that they are represented. The best brand we have within this nation is our nation's brand. It's Canada. And that's where people come. People actually come to Canada to visit, and that's what will actually create those jobs, and that's what will generate the revenues. The tourism industry is a $90 billion industry. It's not a small deal, it's a big deal. And what we're also doing through Destination Canada is working with the border communities. So it's, you know, the gateway communities, and please don't let me misrepresent, are very important. The gateway communities actually bring people into our nation so that they can discover the rural, remote areas and so forth. But it's the border communities that actually bring in our #1 trading partner, which are our cousins to the south, as I always say, so that they come to visit and they come to see Canada and they're able to recognize what we have to offer. Traveling this nation, I know that the Canadian experiences that we have are amazing. Canada is the only country in the world in which you can travel the entire world in one nation. You can eat food from around the world in one nation. You can hear languages from around the world in one nation. And that's our strength. And so, yes, we will be definitely working on a strategy to ensure that we are present internationally.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Nuttall, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very quickly, one clarification for Mr. Bain. Mr. Bain, are you the minister responsible for the Bombardier file?
So, Chair, the request was made to my department on December the 11th of up to $1 billion with respect to Bombardier.
Thank you. And that was $1 billion US, I believe, right?
Pardon?
That was $1 billion US?
That is correct, sir.
Thank you. And very quickly, I have 2 questions for Mr. Chagger. I do want to say that you can tell there's some frustration around this committee table because one of the largest issues that's facing your government has been blocked from being dealt with at the committee that's responsible for it. Quickly, Mr. Chair, through to Minister Chagger. Yesterday, you said in the House of Commons that you've lowered taxes on small businesses. In your mandate letter, it says to work with the Minister of Finance on the small business tax rate reduction to make sure it's implemented. That did not happen. There was a previously approved legislation with the timing to outline a reduction to 11 to 10.5% and eventually to 9%. The budget states that that's being deferred. The cost of that is roughly $900 million Canadian. Do you think it's fair to small business people that they are not given the promised tax cut and that money then can be diverted to a large corporation like Bombardier Inc.?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. And as we know that this topic has been receiving a lot of attention, I've said time and time again that I'm working closely with stakeholders across the nation. We are listening to Canadians. Small business owners want a strong economy. They want strong consumers, and we are helping to deliver that within the commitments we've made into the budget. October 19th was a great day for Canada and a great day for this government because we did receive a majority mandate from Canadians. So I assure you this is the first of four budgets that we will be presenting.
You did not follow through on the promises you made to the people in order to get that majority government. So why is that, and how do you feel about the funds being diverted to other places instead of following through on those conditions, that contract you made with the people of Canada?
Mr. Chair, the member speaks of tax savings. This actually isn't even about tax savings. It's about doing the right thing. This government is committed to working with small business owners. We recognize there are certain loopholes that exist. We are not going to be delivering Band-Aid solutions. I'm working closely with the Minister of Finance. This government is taking a whole-of-government approach. It's something that's not been seen, probably within my lifetime, I would say, and it's something that's going to take us forward. We are looking to grow our economy. We're looking to strengthen small businesses. We know that they're the backbone of the economy, and I assure you we will represent them well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on to Mr. Massey. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, and I do want to move on to the Minister of Tourism here, but I want to quickly just say with regards to oil and gas, I hope the Minister looks at some of the reporting that's taking place in the United States and how we can actually mirror that here. I think that was what question is, to really essentially get that in some way possible. But at any rate, I do want to move towards the border, because you raised it, Madam Minister, so I'm not going to shy away from the border at any point in time. In fact, I could have a 3-day filibuster on that, but I only have 2.5 minutes now. So I want to make sure I leave you some time, but there's, basically my riding, 40% of international trade takes place on the Windsor-Detroit corridor on 2 kilometers between a tunnel, a bridge, and a ferry service, and now a new tunnel, and a second, actually, tunnel for rail. But, I mean, the frustration is high with regards to the Western Hemisphere travel, and it's just the requirement of Americans to get Canadian passports to come into Canada, then get back to the United States. Many Americans won't do it for privacy reasons and so forth. I've been literally begging for years to try to get some type of a program to support that Canadian stuff, including Americans getting passports. Some private sector pushes have been for that. But I'll give you an example, and I'll turn it to you to how to bring American visitation to, I have my ideas, but I want to make sure you have at least a minute, is that we don't even have along this corridor a Welcome to Canada sign, and the province of Ontario closed the tourism centre where you come into Canada. So the first thing you set when you come across Ambassador Bridge is a rail track, and it doesn't have anything else. So I'll show you that's how bad the situation is with regards to promoting Canada. But I want to leave some time for you to lay out what you're doing for tourism in the U.S. coming to Canada.
Seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Connecting America program will be helping to ensure that our visitors from the South are able to come. The nice thing about Destination Canada's marketing campaign is that we are actually targeting the communities who are wanting to come to Canada. And another point that I would like to make is that I believe the member and I would get along just great. So the $50 million into Destination Canada will be of benefit. And I will remind the member as well that this conversation does not need to take place only at the committee table. My office door is open. I welcome any feedback. I am here to work with members from all sides of the House. We know that the tourism industry is a job creator. We know it is an economic driver. And I assure you that not only are we listening, we're engaging, and we're hearing perspectives from all walks of life, and I welcome the opportunity. I would love to see personally more Canadian flags across the nation. I'd like to see more signs, and I think our airports also have a role to do. And I'll go back to the point of the whole of government approach. You'll notice that even within our department, we work closely together. We are constantly raising those issues that we are hearing and engaging, and that's what I think is really important and will help address a lot of those concerns. So I thank you for raising that, and please fly that Canadian flag high.
Pass my private member's bill and we'll have even more.
Thank you very much. Under the wire. Okay, we are going to move to Mr. Arsenault, and once again, you have 3 minutes.
Ministre Bain, je vais essayer de poser 2 questions.
Minister Bain, I'll try to ask 3 questions in 3 minutes. We know Canada is a great and wonderful country, but that means that there are a lot of rural regions far from urban centres. I'm from the Atlantic provinces, New Brunswick, so I know a fair bit about it. What will your department do to ensure that there's follow-up and support and the required help to businesses that are in remote areas, which are the engines in those areas, especially the Atlantic provinces?
Merci pour votre question.
Thank you for your question. If you don't mind, I'll be answering in English, though.
So I'm glad you raised this question, because this is where the regional development agencies come into play. ACOA is a very important platform for us to make those investments for diversification, particularly in these rural and remote regions where there's very little or limited interface with the federal government. ACOA is the face of the federal government in those regions. And that is why I very much support this regional development agency. It's got a tremendous track record of making key investments to help communities transition when they're going through difficult times, particularly some of the challenges around seasonal workers. And we have different initiatives in ACOA to help us businesses. So from enterprise development, community development, we focus a lot on business development initiatives. And, you know, the idea is we work on small projects and also large projects because we're focusing on helping these companies to grow. So we make the investment. If they need that bridge financing, if they need to be able to get to the next hurdle and BDC is not there, or there's just a window of opportunity where we can make that investment, we'll do that. So we really work closely with the community. We work closely with our clients. We really have a good on-the-ground presence in these rural and remote regions. And the other area that I'd like to quickly touch upon with respects to making investments in Atlantic Canada and rural remote regions within that area and across Canada is the $500 billion commitment that we made to broadband. This commitment speaks clearly to the fact that we want to make sure that we deal with the digital divide that currently exists in society, where you have this challenge in rural remote regions where they cannot access the internet. That has a tremendous impact on young people and their ability to get a good quality education. As Minister Chagger mentioned, it impacts small businesses. So it has a profound impact on individuals to be able to reach their potential, the opportunity to succeed. So that investment is absolutely critical as well. So we have ACOA, we have broadband, are two examples of how we're investing in rural and remote regions in Atlantic Canada. And I must say, most recently, we made announcements through the Connecting Canadians program. And this initiative is about investing in direct internet connectivity to homes. And the idea is we're going to try to connect 300,000 homes by the end of the program, and I think we're very close to hitting that target, if not already exceeding it. And the idea is, again, focusing on the digital divide that's taking place. This ICT adoption, this connectivity internet accessibility, making sure it's reliable is absolutely critical in the rural and remote regions, particularly in Atlantic Canada.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Get back on. Be good. We have 3 more questions. So we're going to go to Ms. Gladue. You have 3 minutes. And then we'll go back to Mr. Jahari for 3 minutes. And Mr. Massey, you can take the last 3 minutes.
Very good. Thank you, Chair. It was great to see that the Knowledge Infrastructure Fund that our government brought in was continued as the Post-Secondary Infrastructure Fund. And Lambton College, that is in my riding, happens to be having a renewable energy clean tech lab upgrade going on. And so I was looking at the requirements for the deadline of May the 9th. Now, it seems if you're going to spend $2 billion, you should maybe allow more than 48 days for people to get their requirements in, because the requirements include engineering drawings, which I can tell you are not always instantly developed. So my question is there already a list of people who had a project sort of ready to go in the ground, or is the engineering drawing not really such a requirement?
Thank you for the question. I do want to start by saying there is a difference between the KIP program and this new Post-Secondary Institution Strategic Investment Fund. One of the major differences, this fund now includes environmental sustainability and KIP didn't. Another difference was there was the investment under KIP. The difference was, and you heard this across the research community, was yes, you invested in buildings, but there was no investment in the researchers. And that's why you see this time the $2 billion investment in infrastructure plus the $95 million in the researchers themselves. And the reason it is that tight timeline is so that, one, we take advantage of the summer construction season. We get that economic development and jobs. And if you go to the website, you'll see what the requirements are. What I can tell you is how they will be judged. They will be, once we get in all the submissions, again, June, May 9th, they will be reviewed by department officials along the criteria of merit, readiness, and support by provinces and territories.
Excellent. Do I have time for one more? All right. So the Chief Science Officer position, how much money do you believe will be required for that, and what resources will be given to support?
Thank you for the question. And you know this is a top priority of mine. It's in the mandate letter to create it. I explained earlier that we've received 74 submissions from across the country. We reached out to all parliamentarians in the House of Commons and the Senate. That's never happened while I've been here. We talked to people internationally for best practices. We are at the analysis phase. And I don't take that term lightly. This is a Ministry of Science. It should have a real analysis. So when we go forward with reaching out to Canadians to advertise the position, and that's when we'll announce that.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Jahari, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This question goes to Mr. Chagger. Quickly, I want to talk about high-impact firm scale-ups. 4 questions. What does characterize a firm that's considered to be a high-impact firm? What qualification do they need to be able to get qualified for the funding? What is the amount of funding, and are there any deadlines associated with it?
So I will say that what makes it high impact is basically what it's able to do. We're looking at management, we're looking at the potential, we're looking at everything it has to offer, we're looking at the overall package as to where it can go. We recognize that the nation has potential. This budget is making a commitment to actually work with high-impact firms to scale up. And as Minister Baines mentioned earlier, it's a point that I've been raising and that I've been hearing often, is that we are not able to scale our companies. And that's a challenge that we're trying to take on. And we're looking at solutions within the community as well for that. So any feedback is welcome. We are going to do it right. So when it comes to a deadline, no, there's not one. It will be part of the innovation agenda. That's a role that the innovation agenda plays. And the feedback that we've been gaining has been very valuable, and I welcome any feedback still.
Okay.
Can I? Do you have another question, or can I make a point that I just want to make?
Well,
excellent.
Go ahead.
Okay, excellent. So from earlier on, I didn't get to finish a point that I think it's really important for everyone in this room to know, and anybody who is watching from home, that when it comes to loans and grants and opportunities for entrepreneurs, and especially underrepresented groups, that we do have the Canada Small Business Financing Program that has seen some great successes. We do have the BDC, the Business Development Bank, which is it's a development bank that actually is committed entirely to small businesses, and it actually works fairly well. The fact that we are coming under one portfolio, one department, I think will be beneficial to the nation, as there is strength within that bank. That bank, the BDC, filled a gap, and that's a gap that still needs filling, and that's a good feedback that we're getting. So I just wanted to make sure that people who are listening and are here, that we share those resources as well with them, because it is a great way to get in and get that idea to grow.
30 seconds.
Oh, okay. Combination of potential joint working between EDC and BDC to be able to further strengthen our trade. Anything that you want to expand on that?
Excellent question. So this whole having all these different programs and departments all coming under one department is what's going to allow them to work together. So up until now, they've been working in silos because they haven't had to communicate. Now they have to communicate. They have to collaborate. They have to work together. The success of this nation will actually be where competition meets collaboration. That is the secret to success. And by bringing us all together under one department, that's where you'll see the EDC and the BDC working closely with the RDAs and the programs that exist. So you will, I believe, we'll see some great successes moving forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And Mr. Massey, you can take us home for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Mr. Chair. Maybe that's in the future.
I don't know. I'm certainly getting a lot of practice.
You can get a promotion for me. I don't know what good it's going to do you. And I won't end on the BDC. I'd rather not. I would like to turn it over to the ministers, though, as one thing I don't think that happens enough here. is you get a chance to mention what's important to you in your riding. Your parliamentarians first, ministers second, in my opinion, because this is the way the system works here. So I would turn it over to hear what's important to you in your ridings.
Wow, that's a very nice and thoughtful question.
Yeah,
does anyone want to start off?
Yeah.
Okay, I can start.
I'll go for it.
Okay, go ahead.
No, go for it.
So with respect to my riding, for me personally, it represents a very unique intersection with transportation because there's Pearson International, you have the 400 major series highways, so there's a lot of infrastructure issues. So that's a huge priority for us. There's a lot of gridlock in that area. To go from one end to the other end of my riding in a very, very dense area, in a very limited area, it takes up to 25 minutes. So it's completely unacceptable relative to the small size of it. So infrastructure is a big challenge, and this is something I work very closely with my local mayor to deal with and address. I was really glad it was mentioned in the budget. And the food and beverage industry is also another one. It is such a major employer in my neck of the woods. And it's an area, there's a lot of innovation that's taking place. And I didn't have an opportunity to speak about it, but like I said before, we think of innovation through the ICT lens, we see it through, traditionally through maybe clean tech, but there's agriculture, there's mining, forestry, a lot of innovation taking place there. So this is an area that I'm very passionate about. And I'm looking forward to promoting the innovation agenda in that sector because there's tremendous growth opportunities, not only for my riding, but for Canadians from coast to coast to coast.
If I may, thank you. And thank you for a lovely question. I get to represent the riding where I'm born and raised in. We're one of the most diverse ridings in the country, and I'm so proud of that. You can literally travel the world within my riding. And we have a large majority of newcomers and first generations. So it's getting, one of the challenges is it's for our kids to go to post-secondary education. They're smart and they're good at school, and sometimes they don't have those chances. And then once they graduate, is to make sure they get the jobs. In our riding, it's about jobs, and our families work so hard. So it's to support them. They've come to Canada to build a better life for their children.
30 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a really quick correction. When I was talking about them all coming under one department, I should have said coming under the whole of government approach. EDC is under global affairs, and that's where that collaborative approach is taking place so that we can serve in the best interest of Canadians. I come from the riding of Waterloo. The Waterloo region has a great ecosystem that I think is definitely something that the rest of the nation can learn from and see from, and we have a lot of learning to do as well. And that's where working together as a nation is allowing us to continue to grow and allowing other communities to also grow and prosper as well. An area that has been close to my heart is that I have 2 universities and a college within my riding, and I believe the best natural renewable resource is the brain. It is our human capital that we have in this nation. So it is a matter of working with that talent and providing jobs for that talent and ensuring that talent's not leaving our nation as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Stop it. We're actually like 1 minute over 6:30. I want to congratulate everybody for helping us keep on track. I would like to congratulate the ministers and their assistants for being here and taking the time. 3 hours is a long time for everybody.
Can I believe here's your pen, sir?
But thank you very much again. I will declare this meeting adjourned.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you.